It's a Thursday night in the SEC, and it's a top 10 showdown from Cliff Hagan Stadium. #1 Florida going against its nemesis, 9th-ranked Kentucky, the one SEC team that's had some success recently against the Gators. And Kentucky has some ground to make up. They're under 500 in the SEC, trying to catch up with the #1 team in the country and the Gators, who have a 3-game lead in the SEC East. And with that, we've got the whole gang together, at least for one night. Tom Hart, Chris Burke, and Kyle Peterson. This is a great Florida team. They've been known for their pitching, and once again, Brady Singer's leading the way.
Yeah, one of the premier arms in the entire country, and we'll see Brady Singer on the mound tonight for Florida. If you remember the last 2 years, it's a power fastball, it's a power slider. And for Singer, he can show you each. Over the course of the season, Singer's put himself right in the middle of every major pitching category. He's on the midseason watch list for the Golden Spikes, and I think he'll be there at the end of the year. It's power stuff, and it's consistently been power stuff for Singer the past 3 years. This weekend, he will face a power offense. It's one of the best offenses in the entire country. And for Kentucky, when you look at them within the SEC, top 2 in the league in basically every major offensive category. Top 2 in the league in average on base percentage, slugger percentage, runs, home runs. It's an offense that can be quick strike, and they are very quick strike here at home. It's a ballpark that plays to this offensive strengths. Berkey, it's not an easy offense to handle at any point. Florida's got one of the best offensive players in the country, though, on their side.
Yeah, Florida can play a little offense, too, and they're led by Jonathan India, arguably the best hitter in the country right now, certainly the runaway player for Southeastern Conference Player of the Year, and he's in the middle of the hottest streak of his career. 24-game hitting streak, just 5 left to break or to tie the school record. Jonathan India, not just the best player in the league, but for my money, the prettiest swing in the conference, Tommy.
Here's a look at the batting order put together by Kevin O'Sullivan. Florida off to a fantastic season at the plate. Not just India, but they are so deep, and they are way ahead of where they were last year at this time. And oh, by the way, they won a national title. A couple of changes in this lineup. We got Brady Smith in the DH spot tonight for the Florida Gators, and so that means Nelson Maldonado is in right field, and he's had some big-time success here at this ballpark over the years. Florida can't say that as a whole. This has been a tough place for the Gators to come over the last couple of seasons. And speaking of changes, Zach Hockey gets a start for Kentucky tonight, so he moves up in the rotation with a short week for Kentucky. He's a junior college transfer from just outside of St. Louis, Breeze, Illinois, making just his 5th start of the season, and he has struggled, especially recently. He's allowed 15 earned runs over his last 2 starts. They want to see just how much they can get from the hard-throwing right-hander.
Yeah, and I think for Hockey tonight, I mean, it's not really a promotion. I mean, this is one to where they wanted to keep Sean Jelly on his normal, so Jelly will go tomorrow night. It's a real fastball. It's up to 95. He was up to 95 last weekend against Georgia. I think the biggest thing is the secondary stuff has to show up for him to compete. The walks as opposed to the innings have been the issue this year for Hockey. It's not a stuff issue. If the secondary stuff is in the zone and he has the ability to throw fastball for strike 1, he can get guys out, but he's facing a very good offense, a different offense than Florida had last year. They lead this league in home runs.
Kevin O'Sullivan is the head coach for these Florida Gators. He is bundled up and warm. 6 College World Series appearances and a national championship last year for the Florida Gators. Their first ever, the 4th team in the SEC to take home a national title. And he's got a very loose and confident team. He kind of runs his squad like a big league team.
Yeah, loose is a great way to describe it. He's certainly not a micromanager. He's got a bunch of really accomplished players playing at a high level, so there's not a whole lot to micromanage right now.
Zach Hockey gets the ball for Kentucky tonight. He started his college career at Arkansas State. He went the junior college route because why? He wanted to pitch in the SEC. Well, here's his chance, and he's trying to get things right against the best team in the country. Deacon Lippett will lead off for Florida, and on a chilly night with temperatures starting at 50 degrees, we are underway. Florida as a team hitting .296 with 58 home runs. Lippett's a .300 hitter this season. He's driven in 20. Riding a 3-game hit streak. He had 2 hits in the Missouri series over the course of the weekend for Florida. And he chases that one from Hockey.
Nice pitch right there, KP.
Show you a little changeup, too. 87-mile-an-hour changeup. The fastball could get up 94, 95 tonight. Don't think you'll see that changeup too much against the right-handers, but for the lefties in this Florida lineup, he's going to have to mix some of those in.
And he takes care of Lippett to start things off.
Back-to-back now.
Yeah.
Didn't see a whole lot of that last weekend. It was primarily fastball breaking ball, but that time to Deacon Lippett. Gets ahead of him, throws a one-strike changeup, and then a two-strike changeup that had really good movement away from the barrel of that left-handed hitter.
And I don't know that that was in the report, so I'm sure Deacon Lippett is in the dugout right now, spreading the word to the lefties. Hockey's going to trust that changeup early on in this ball game.
This is Nelson Maldonado, the Florida right fielder, who 2 years ago came into Kentucky on a similar weekend, a chilly weekend, and for the first time ever, the Florida native wore a batting glove. It paid off. He hit 2 home runs in one game, and he's going back with the glove again tonight.
Batting glove.
Singular, yeah, kind of like, Michael Jackson, the king of pop, didn't wear 2 gloves.
Yeah.
He only wore 1.
A glove. Just 1.
So Hockey's making his 5th consecutive start. He was pitching out of the bullpen early this season. And this is a Kentucky team that's top 10 in the country, but overall there's still a lot of growth left and refinement left in this team.
Well, there's a big hole. When Zach Thompson went out, their star sophomore left-hander who was supposed to be throwing in the number 2 spot, when he went out, it really changed the dynamic of the entire pitching staff, which was a little thin and inexperienced. You have to move Hockey, who was set up to be the closer, to the number 2 spot. Now Mockemer, who was supposed to be the setup man, moves to the closer spot. Now you're trusting 2 freshmen to try to bridge the gap to the end of the ballgame. It just changed the entire staff dynamics.
Hockey just misses with the fastball.
Cole Cottom didn't do him any favors there either, because that was a 2-seam fastball to the bottom part of the zone, and I think it was a ball, but Cole Cottom, the catcher, really took it further out of the zone. Didn't really have a chance to get that call.
Barry Chambers is our home plate umpire tonight.
Some life on the ball tonight, KP. Good run on the fastball. Changeup's been good. First breaking ball was sharp.
It's real stuff. I mean, stuff has not been the issue. Control has been the issue for Hockey, and I think some of it is just adjusting to the starter's role.
He's 6'4", 215. First 2 starters for Kentucky could be on the basketball court for John Calipari with their size. Eklinski in center field handles that. 2 up, 2 down. And here's the best hitter in all of college baseball, Jonathan India. How do you explain this explosion for Jonathan India this year?
Well, in his words, the game has slowed down, and that started with the mechanics of the move. And so this is a hitter that uses the knee lift or leg kick, however you want to call it, to get, that's his timing mechanism, and he decided to start it earlier and slow it down. Thus his pitch recognition has greatly improved.
Swings at the first and pops it up. It's a 1-2-3 frame worked by Zach Hockey, and the youngsters got a little confidence coming off the mound in the first. College baseball is brought to you by Pilot Flying J, the official travel center fueling the SEC. Now Chris Burke fueled it up on his way over today. We got no score as we go to the home half of the first inning. Final season of 50 here at Cliff Hagan Stadium. Nick Mingione had this Kentucky team off to a record of a season last year, but they've had a hard time replicating that success. Last year's SEC Coach of the Year, one of the biggest series wins, was about a month and a half ago, and a top 5 team from Texas Tech came to town, and they took 2 out of 3. They'd love to make that kind of statement here this weekend against the #1 team in the country. And Kentucky, just as good as anybody nationally. 2nd in the country in home runs, top 10 in the country in team batting average. Luke Heyer is in the 3 hole. He is tied for 5th in the country in home runs with 13, and he's driven in 42. Brady Singer on the mound for the Gators. 7-1, a 2.79 ERA as he makes his 10th start of the year. 63 strikeouts against only 14 walks. An opponent's hitting a .182 against him. He works, and he works fast.
He does, even out of that windup. For Singer, the stuff will be mid-90s fastball, have good run to that arm side. And the slider is really his secondary pitch. He has a changeup. I don't know how much we will see it tonight, but he really, from the jump this year, has been one of the premier arms in the entire country. See draft projections coming up for the draft here in a few months. Brady Singer's name is near the top of that first round.
To the slider for the first time. 1-2 now to Pompey, who's one of the best hitters in the league. 9th in the SEC with a .349 average. and 7th in on-base percentage. There's some pop at the top of this lineup for Kentucky. There's really pop all the way through. Back to the slider, and it's chopped to first, where Keenan Bell tosses to Singer. 1 down. Nick Mingione will move his catcher and his first baseman back and forth, and so today it's Troy Squires at first base, batting in the 2-hole. 5th-year senior from Elizabethtown, Kentucky. Squires was a second-team all-conference selection last year for a Kentucky squad that made it to the Super Regionals. "121 years of baseball here at the University of Kentucky. Last year was their first ever Super Regional." Nothing in 2.
What was that sound? What's wrong with that?
If he lives there, he's going to be living. No, I'm fine with the call. I'm just saying, if he's making that pitch all night, it's going to be hard for the boys in blue to elevate the baseball. That is exactly what he's trying to do. This is an interesting matchup. You got a guy that really wants to throw nothing but fastballs first time through the lineup. You got an offense that loves to hit the first pitch fastball and the fastball in general. And so, you know, who wins out here? You know, Singer loves to dominate with the heater early. And apparently he's not scared to come right at him here in the first 2 hitters.
No, I don't think that should surprise anybody. He's generally not scared to come after people.
Off of Singer's glove. At second, it's Blake Reese. 2 down.
It was a different start for Singer last weekend. He walked the first 2 guys of the game. You're not going to see that very often. His fastball command was not great. And I think that's one thing to watch today with Singer. He controls the slider and throws the slider for a strike more than any pitch. In fact, he throws it more than any pitch that Florida or any pitcher that Florida has in their entire staff. That slider is a striker. It's swung through a strike over 70% of the time. So he's probably most comfortable throwing that pitch. But for Singer to be right and to be as good as he can, he has to have the ability to control that fastball.
2 down for Luke Heyer.
Yeah, if you're evaluating Singer, the ability to throw that breaking ball for the strike at the 70% clip he does, and it's not just get-me-overs, right? He commands that.
Oh, yeah.
Is something that has to put a lot of stock in a team's evaluation of a player.
And it's an advanced understanding of the pitch, too, because he knows when to throw it for a strike. And then he knows when to add depth to it. So you're going to see a few different sliders from Singer. One will be a little bit flatter when he's trying to steal a strike. So something he's trying to throw over the plate. And then when he gets into a plus count, you'll see that ball have more depth. So no downward movement into the left-handed hitter when he's trying to strike somebody out.
Heyer sends this one foul. He's on the Golden Spikes Award midseason watch list. Batting in the 3-hole for one of the most prolific offenses in college baseball.
And a Florida boy. So I would imagine this series means a little bit more to him than maybe some of the guys on the UK roster.
Hey, it's the #1 team in the country. I mean, it shouldn't matter what the name on the chest. Yeah, it's that number in front of it. 2 years ago, Florida came in here as #1, and Kentucky took the series from it. I mean, this is a Kentucky team that has underperformed based on their ranking and the expectations. We've identified some of the reasons why. But if they could win this series, kind of like when they served notice by taking the one from Texas Tech, it could go a long way to determining where they end up in the postseason.
Hey, now, I mean, they get Missouri here, then go to Tennessee, then host Mississippi State. I mean, Kentucky's got a chance to make a run in this league, especially if they can win 2 out of 3 this weekend against the #1 team in the country.
Fouls off the slider. Wasn't that bad so far for Luke Heyer. Seen a little bit of both of them.
Yeah, he's hanging in there on the breaking ball, which is a really good sign because has really made his living off the fastball. But I think with regular, last year he didn't play against right-handers. And a big reason why was because of his inability to defend the breaking ball. But you can see the maturation with him as he continues to battle.
Takes a slider to short where Deacon Lippett gobbles it up. 1-2-3 frame worked by each. That was an 8-pitch at bat, but Singer still puts him down in order. No score through 1. No score through 1. Game 1 of this series between Kentucky and Florida. Top 10 showdown. We'll be back here tomorrow for game 2 of this set. And the Wildcats will send their ace to the mound tomorrow. That's Sean Jelly, the reigning SEC Pitcher of the Year. 7:30 Eastern, 6:30 Central, right here on the SEC Network and live on the ESPN app. Zach Hockey had about as good a first inning as you could ask for. 12 pitches, 9 of them strikes, and all 3 batters saw first pitch strikes. Now he faces junior college transfer Will Dalton. He didn't waste any time getting acclimated to SEC pitching. He is 5th in the country in home runs. He's hit 13 of them.
Yeah, this is a special athlete right here. Jonathan India, we highlighted in the Open, is the premier bat in the league right now. But Will Dalton, one of the most athletic players in the league, and maybe the newcomer of the year, coming from junior college and making the impact he's made and providing the thump that they hoped he would after a 20 home run season last year in JUCO. You know, KP, sometimes you don't know how those numbers are going to translate.
Hey, a lot of times you don't know.
Yeah.
I think especially for junior college hitters, and the one thing usually doesn't translate is the power. It did right away for Dalton.
How about Hockey? That's 92, and it's his 2nd strikeout. He's retired all 4 he's faced.
How about the sequence? So we go 3 straight breaker balls, and it's a big breaker ball, but it starts out at the same window as he finishes in with the fastball. So it's going to start out of a big window for the breaker ball, then break down in the zone this time, and I think that's why you saw the reaction right there for Will Dalton. He had just seen 3 straight breaker balls that came out of Hockey's hand in the exact same spot. That time he elevates a fastball to get his 2nd strikeout.
So 1 down for J.J. Schwartz, now a senior, batting in the 5-hole. He's homered 9 times this season. He's hit everywhere in this Florida batting order since he had that remarkable breakout season as a freshman. But do you think the mindset is different this time around?
I think it's similar to his freshman year in that he doesn't feel like he has to carry the club. I think this is probably the most relaxed he's played in a Florida uniform in a couple years. And I think talking to Sully, Kevin O'Sullivan, before the game, he agreed with that when you got a superstar like India and then a newcomer like Dalton carrying their weight, Schwartz can really relax and just trust his eyes as opposed to trying to force things like it appeared to be last year.
The reality is the whole offense is different.
Yeah.
I mean, it is a real offense, and it's one of the reasons why Florida's been so dominant over the course of the year. We knew their arms are going to be good. We did not know that the offense would be this. And so with everybody else hitting, it just takes even more pressure off of Schwartz. They still respect him, though. 3-1 breaking ball right there, taken for a strike.
Look, that 1 out, nobody on, a 3-1 slider.
Payoff is popped up. Foul territory for Alex Rodriguez, and Cole caught him, and the catcher caught him.
Oh!
Goes into Rodriguez, but holds on to it.
Wow.
How much help do you get from the opposing dugout in that scenario?
Zilcho, how about the composure right here and the concentration up against the other dugout? You take a blow from your third baseman and still finish this play. You got sunlight. He gets popped in the grill by Rodriguez. How about a glove shot to the face right here? Watch the glove come in here late after the catch. Watch this, right to the kisser, and finishes the play. What a play from Cole Cottom.
So 5 straight retired by Zach Hockey, who started his college career at Arkansas State, pitching primarily out of the bullpen. One of his wins came against Ole Miss, and he decided at some point that the SEC is where he wanted to be. Kind of sounds like the Beverly Hillbillies, doesn't it, for a second? So he loaded up the truck and he moved to junior college, John Logan Junior College, and all of a sudden added some velocity. He was working with a pitching coach back home in the St. Louis area that helped perfect some things, work on his timing. And here he is in a Kentucky uniform starting against the #1 team in the country. Baseball America had him as the 49th best college prospect going into this draft.
Yeah, there was a lot of buzz about him coming into this season. He had a really good fall. They anticipated him being the closer, and the word was the fastball was up to 98 in the fall. And so there was anticipation. He started this year hurt. People were really excited to see him get back and see what he could do. And certainly from a numbers standpoint, it hasn't been there. He's shown flashes with the arm, but he's also in a role that they weren't anticipating him filling either. So,
and he wasn't anticipating.
Right.
takes a little bit of time just to get your mindset back to that starter's role.
Man. He looks like an ace tonight. He has struck out 3. He has retired all 6 that he's faced.
How about this stuff now? We've seen all 3 pitches thrown for a strike, a 3-1 breaking ball earlier, now a 3-2 changeup to strike out Langworth. Good stuff early. Reigning SEC pitcher of the year. Yeah, it's pretty crazy, the arms that are getting rolled out there, which honestly makes the run that India has had this year within the league even more impressive based on the guys he's facing every weekend.
Luke Becker sends one through the left side. First hit of the game for either side. And the leadoff man on for Kentucky. We talk about the power that resides in this Kentucky batting order. You get to the 5-hole after Becker reaches on a clean single. Then you deal with a guy who's 5th in the country in home runs in Cole Cottom. Well, Cottom, Dalton, and Heyer all tied for the SEC league in lead in home runs and 5th in the country in that same stat.
I'm going to find out tomorrow. Surely they got something on the line with that.
You think?
Right? I mean, there's got to be Cottom and Heyer and Collette. Surely they got something on the board there for a little internal motivation. Who finishes years with the most homers? What do you think? I'm going to find out for you boys tomorrow.
Investigative journalism tomorrow with Chris Burke.
Cottom sits safely in 5 of his last 6. He's had a Knoxville Catholic. Had a 4-hit weekend in the series victory against Georgia, including a home run.
You know, real quick on the little glitz piece that we just showed on the potential first rounders, Montez de Oca not on there.
Missouri's
Missouri
third starter.
Up to 98 has hit 100.
Oh yeah.
Zach Hess, who's a draft eligible sophomore, and Cody Morris, who I saw punch out 10 and 4 1/3 for South Carolina.
Adam Hill not on there, who at the beginning of the year was as good as anybody for a while.
Wait, hold on a second. There's only room for so many guys.
No, I'm just saying, like that's
There's
the
more.
depth. That's what you're running into. Of course, we ain't even talking about the underclassmen, but it's wild the depth of high-end arms.
It's not like when you played, this league was full of a bunch of nobodies.
Right. No, I mean, we would face a first-rounder or 2. I remember my freshman year, Kurt Ainsworth and Matt Ginter were both in the league. I think Cliff Lee was in the league. I mean, it's always been a loaded conference, but now it just feels at a totally different level with the depth of pitching, especially.
Well, I have a theory on that, and it's not just related, I don't think, to the SEC, but overall more pitchers are coming to college, right? More top-end arms are playing college baseball.
And I think with the attention of the SEC network, I think with the dominance of SEC in Omaha recently, and I think with the facilities that are being built in this league, the SEC is getting more than their fair share of those kids to come to school.
Popped up, right field, and towards the line. Maldonado will disappear from our view and run out of room. I mean, they're having the same conversation in the NBA right now, right? I mean, we want to play college basketball at a high level. We want to go to the D League and make 35 grand,
right,
and then maybe work your way up. I mean, to me, that's an entirely different discussion. But on the baseball side, there's so much to be gained coming the college route.
Well, look at the tired old right-hander sitting next to me. I mean, middle of America, right? Middle of America. When Vanderbilt, if Vanderbilt was obviously you're a Stanford guy, we know you're brilliant. You tell us about it all the time.
Here we go.
But
here we go.
Is
there a point here?
I'm getting there.
You've been talking like 20 seconds. You haven't said it.
If Vanderbilt was on the level that they are now when you were coming through, I would imagine it would have been a much tougher decision.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. I think the other thing, too, is how fast college arms are getting to the big leagues. I mean, you realize that your path there really isn't impeded.
Uh-oh.
To right, Maldonado coming towards the line again, and in the corner, makes the catch.
That's the ball at this park where this park changes things. And Cottom obviously caught that one. Just didn't quite compress it and caught a little towards the label. But that's the ball that can scare you as a pitcher here.
It's 310 down the line, and it's really short towards the gap.
We saw it in batting practice with Florida. You saw a few balls in India hit to right field.
Yeah.
And he came out. And I mean, a ball that you probably wouldn't normally watch all the way. He stopped on his way out of the cage just to see how far it flew. The guy who this, from Florida standpoint, that this ballpark really plays to is Maldonado, because he can elevate some balls to right center, right field. See if he can get through one tonight.
Here's Ben Eklinski, the junior from Phoenix, out of Phoenix College. There's a handful of JUCO transfers in this Kentucky starting lineup tonight. That pickoff attempt gets away. Becker will break, and he'll get to second without a throw from Keenan Bell. So throwing error on Brady Singer, and Becker in scoring position.
Bell's got to have that ball.
Yeah, he just didn't get down to it.
Yeah, Bell's got to have that ball. I mean, you could probably flip a coin as to where you're going to give the error. Florida's a team that doesn't make a lot of errors, but he just didn't get his glove down in time.
Only 25 errors on the season for Florida. Second best number in the SEC. Eklinski had 2 hits in the Georgia series. He was walked 5 times. Out of Greenway High School, then Phoenix College. You know who went to Phoenix College, Kyle Peterson?
Ben Eklinski?
Yep. Omaha's own Nick Nolte.
Is that right?
Mm-hmm.
West Side High.
Well, yeah, West Side. Popped up to right. Another chance for Maldonado. Nick Nolte also went to Benson High School for a while, but he got kicked out because he was the kicker on the football team. And during practice, he would hide beer under the stands, go get it, have a couple pops, come back out for special teams work. They said, you know what, maybe you'd be better off at West Side.
That's why you're a kicker. That's
right.
The whole point of choosing the position.
You imagine being the coach who found Nick Nolte having some suds under the bleachers?
You're doing what?
Here's Ryan Johnson. Then you got to go tell the head coach, hey, you're never going to guess who we caught. Yeah, it was Nolte. Of course it was. Ryan Johnson, the DH for this team. This is a much different Kentucky team than the one that went to the Supers last year against Louisville. Johnson's also a JUCO transfer, but he started his college career at TCU. Went to Omaha with them in 2016.
You know, there's a lot of different names, but it sure has a similar feel to it.
I was thinking the same thing, the exact same thing. Part of it's a mindset. Part of it, obviously, is just, I mean, the talent that they get in here. But part of it's this ballpark. I mean, you show up wanting to hit in this joint.
Nick Mingione got this job late a couple summers ago. He got it in June, didn't have his entire staff until July, and by then, from a recruiting standpoint, well, forget it. Everybody's taken. So they went combing through the junior college ranks, wanting to find guys with a chip on their shoulder, and guys, in Johnson's point, that had experienced failure. I mean, he was a top prospect coming out of College Station. He was one of the studs in that huge state with great talent.
Yeah, well, and they have 2 of them, right? So they have Ryan Johnson, who was at TCU, and they have Trey Dawson, who was at LSU.
Yeah.
So you got to give Roland Fanning, the third base coach and recruiting coordinator, a lot of credit. He went out in year 1 and sold elite junior college prospects like Trey Dawson, like Ryan Johnson, who had a number of different options on Kentucky and what they were building here before he really had anything to sell, right? Just a vision at that point in time.
Looks like a pitching kind of night with temperatures now in the 40s and the sun starting to set. Only 1 hit per side through the first 2 innings. Brady Singer goes to his breaking ball for his first K. Zach Hockey had a perfect game through 2 innings, at least if you want to call it that. He had struck out 3, and he is done for the day. Mason Hazelwood, Kentucky freshman, will enter the game, and this Kentucky coaching staff sticking to their blueprint to a T.
Yeah, I talked to Jimmy Bellinger, the pitching coach, before the game, and the plan was to kind of go Johnny Holstaff, which I think KP, first of all, shows you that they're not quite sure about Hockey's longevity against this Florida lineup, even though the first 2 innings would make you rethink that mindset, but also how much faith they have in Sean Jelly, that they're going to go through the bullpen in this game, knowing they got 2 more games left in the series.
I don't like it.
Yeah.
Now, I think the hard thing is the last 2 weeks, hockey hasn't been very good at all. 6 2/3 innings, gave up 15 earned runs. So, I mean, clearly, recent history would tell you that it may not keep going. But that was real stuff that we just saw for 2 innings. And now one thing, too, if you're going to do that, if you're only going 2 innings, there's probably 40 scouts here tonight.
Right.
They're going to walk away going, oh, who's that guy?
Bring that
we
dude
came
back.
to see the other guy, but that guy that was wearing white was pretty good.
Blake Reese gets plunked. Hazelwood making his 3rd appearance in an SEC game this season. He's only thrown 2 innings. Here's what Zach Hockey did the first couple frames.
It was all 3 pitches. I mean, the fastball we had seen glimpses of the last few weeks to break a ball had good movement. It was the changeup that surprised me the most. I mean, he got 4 or 5 swing throughs in that changeup to left-handed hitters. 2 smooth innings. Struck out 3, the last on a 3-2 changeup, but a short and effective day for Zach Hockey.
Okay, so here's Keenan Bell at the plate. Now, I want to stay with this line of discussion with taking Zach Hockey out of the game, and my angle is this. This is, if Kentucky's to reach its goals, this is a must-win series, and it's not very often that you knock off the #1 team when you're starting a guy who should be in the bullpen, right? So you got to win 2 to win the series.
Right.
He's given you a really good chance to win. He's just been untouchable through 2 innings. So at what point do you change your plan based on what you've seen, which is much better than you could have envisioned over the first 2 innings?
After you see him as good as he was the first 2 innings.
Yeah.
I mean, here's the reality of tonight for me if you're Kentucky, okay? If you're not starting Jelly, even though you're not going to say it publicly, and you're starting Hockey, you think there's a pretty good chance you're going to lose tonight. That's just the reality of it. You're facing Singer, you're facing the #1 team in the country, and the guy that's been out there the last 2 weeks hasn't been that good.
So what you're saying is you've run the odds, and you're saying, okay, we're facing a guy who's going to be a first rounder. Odds are steep that we come out of here with a win.
But to me, where you pivot is after you see the first 2 innings, you go, you know what? Maybe we can't steal one
maybe
now.
we can win this game.
Like, he's got the kind of stuff tonight that could go shut an offense down if he throws enough strikes. History would indicate that he's not going to throw enough strikes for a while, but just make sure that the leash is short.
As a player, do you feel that after your coaching staff makes a move like that?
Yes, I think as position players, my guess were not in on the pregame strategy of how they were going to allot the innings to their staff, and so I think you're definitely scratching your head a little bit as a position player. I would imagine there's internal conversation going on. We saw this last year in Omaha with LSU.
Yeah.
And Paul Maneri was going to go staff, and then was it Caleb Gilbert that was hot, and he ran him out there maybe one more inning.
Yeah.
And ended up giving up 2 base runners, and he stayed. He even said, "I told myself if he got me through what was it 3 or 4, I was going to take him out no matter what the situation was." Maybe this is one of those scenarios where Mingione had just pre-decision, right? I don't care what he does. After 2, he's done. Mm-hmm. And he's just really going to stick with that decision because there's no possible way.
That had to have been what it was.
Because when you see what we've seen, I don't know how you take him out of the game.
After a visit from the pitching coach, Keenan Bell is walked on 4 pitches, so a hit batter, then a 4-pitch walk.
And now you're really upset. The only thing that's odd about it, what would make more sense is we're going to try to go 1 time through the order. And the second time with the depth and the talent of Florida's order, we don't want them to see him twice kind of thing.
Yeah.
Well, but to take him out at 7, 8, 9 is really curious.
Just make sure you can get somebody hot pretty quick. I mean, if he runs into any issues, we're going to get somebody up. And if a guy's standing on second base, he's going to come out of the ballgame. It surprised me.
So 2 on with nobody out and Brady Smith at the plate. I had a great conversation with Nick Mingione before the game about developing a pitcher's confidence. And, you know, the plan for Hockey was that he was going to be pitching out of the bullpen over the bulk of the season. And then you introduce him to success, and then maybe later down the road he's ready for a bigger role, like you would with any newcomer in most situations. He had a chance to build some confidence by getting through the lineup at least once against the #1 team.
I'm going to tell you this, with the Heat sitting in the stands tonight, what they just saw for 2 innings, he just better be happy if he gets it back next year.
Yeah.
Because if you had walked into this ballpark tonight and you didn't know who was on the mound for each side, you didn't know the history of it, and you stood and had a radar gun and watched those 2 guys for those 2 innings, it's hard to say that one is that much better than the other at all.
And there are a lot of radar guns in the building tonight. Brady Smith in the 9-hole. 267 average with a home run. catcher by trade. Started all 3 games against Missouri at first base last week. And is starting at DH tonight. Berkey bring up a really good point too, that if you're going to use just about every available arm out of your bullpen tonight, that means you have great confidence in Sean Jelly, and he's your ace, so he's a reigning pitcher of the year, so you should have confidence in him. Kevin O'Sullivan wants to have a word with Barry Chambers here. I wonder if this is something about what Mason Hazelwood is doing on the mound. Does he think he's balking, perhaps?
He saw something.
At straws here.
He saw something, and I think the only conversation has to have something to do with Hazelwood on the mound, I would think.
Yeah, I'm not sure about that one.
We're going back to the bullpen. This will be Alec Maley now with a 2-1 count.
I don't know the way this whole thing's going to end, but I tell you this, it feels like we just kind of overthunk ourselves here. Who knows? He could roll a first pitch ground ball double play, and before you know it, they're out of the inning and out later. But it's interesting.
You know, you Stanford guys always overthunk things. Saturday spring football season continues right here on the SEC Network. We've got 3 more games. Chris Burke is fired up about his Volunteers. They'll kick at 2 under first-year head coach Jeremy Pruitt. We got another first year. Joe Moorhead takes the reins in Starkville. It's Super Bulldog weekend. They'll be foaming at the mouth, and LSU will take the field at Death Valley at 6 o'clock Eastern. All 3, as always, also streaming live on the ESPN app. So Alec Maley, a 6'1" senior out of Round Rock, Texas, becomes the second pitcher of the 3rd inning. He inherits a 2-1 count to Brady Smith. Maley threw the other night against Louisville. It was a road loss for Kentucky. Allowed 1 run, got 1 out. An 8-2 Cardinals win as the Cats and Cards split their season series. Might have to invest in some Head and Shoulders because my guys up here in the booth keep scratching their heads.
I don't get it. I just don't get it. I don't know what argument you can make for that being the right move here. I do not get it. I know he hasn't been good the last few weeks. I totally get it. The guy looked like a big leaguer for 2 innings. And you're going toe-to-toe with the best team in the country and one of the best arms in the country. And you know what? Your dude's had some confidence. Now you just pulled the air out of the whole place. I don't get it.
Maley's season high in pitches is 27. He's reached that twice. And he issues a walk to Smith that will be charged to Hazelwood.
And it's not because they hit a guy and walked 2. That's not my point here. My point is you got, like, I mean, one of the biggest things you want to do in the first game of a weekend series is not burn your bullpen.
Well, and you don't even have an established accredited bullpen. Like, this isn't a strength of their team.
No. You got one guy in the bullpen that you really know that you can count on. Uno. And you got 2 more games after this. So, man, roll with it.
Yeah, by your line of thinking then, as we go back to the top of the order and Deacon Lippett, you can make an argument that you'd leave Zach Hockey out there all night.
Absolutely.
No matter what happens to him.
Absolutely.
Besides the fact that he's got a perfect game through 2. And Lippett launches one to the gap in right center. Florida is going to get at least 2, probably 3. Reese has scored. Bell crosses the plate. Brady Smith stopped at 3rd. A ringing double from Deacon Lippett.
And Tommy, we talked about it earlier in the ball game. This is a Florida team that feels awfully loose. How about pulling the trigger at a first pitch heater after a hit by pitch and a couple walks? There is no passivity right now in this Florida offense. They are looking to make things happen. A 1-iron in the right center gap from Deacon Lippett. And boy, this just feels like the start of a big inning for the Gators, as now we are right in the heart of this batting order.
Talk about this being a good ballpark for Nelson Maldonado to hit at. And here he is with still nobody out. And 2 in scoring position. Maldonado flew out to center against Zach Hockey in the first inning. Hockey threw 28 pitches through his first 2 and only 2.
Cottom wants to have a talk with Malley there. That looked like there was some confusion as to what pitch was being thrown. We got some shadows right now. Sometimes can be difficult with seeing the signs. And we also got a runner on second base, so maybe there was some confusion as to what sign they're going off of.
Meanwhile, there is action in the Florida bullpen. Not the same kind of action we've seen from Kentucky. Brady Singer's gotten chilly. He's going to go back there and get loose.
So I can promise you one thing. He's not coming out after 2.
You feel pretty safe with that?
Yeah.
High to left. This will push Pompey back into the sunlight, looking to tag Smith. Catch made, throw to third, and Florida has a 3-0 lead.
I think another area where this Florida team is better than last year, situational hitting. Maldonado gets a fastball up and really just misses hitting a 3-run homer right there, but settles for a sacrifice fly as Florida adds another one.
What did Florida hit as a team last year?
256, 259.
They come into this one at 296 as Jonathan India, riding a 24-game hit streak, comes to the line. It's going to sound like a smart aleck comment, but of course they're better at situational hitting this year because they're better at every aspect of hitting this year.
And they have way more opportunities. I mean, their on base percentage, the batting average is so much higher that they're constantly hitting.
There's more situations.
Yeah,
there weren't as many situations last year.
Well, and the thing is too, it's one of those things that breeds offense. Right now, you get the second baseman holding the runner on, right? You get the pitcher out of the stretch. You get a situation where Maldonado hits a fly ball, it counts as a quality at bat instead of an easy out. So offense breeds offense, and obviously there's a lot of thump and a superstar right in the middle here with Jonathan India.
India's hitting streak has been remarkable in just about every aspect. He's raised his. How often are you hitting 326 and you can raise your average by 112 points? That's what he's done over the last 24, 16 of them multi-hit games, and 9 home runs in that span.
His on base percentage in the 15 league games so far is above 600. In the league, above 600.
Crazy.
Well, his margin of lead in some of the categories, I think, is what's striking. And he's got a 30-point lead in the batting title, which we know can still fluctuate quite a bit as the season unfolds. But, well, he's not showing any signs of slowing down. One of the things I love is the timing of his move. So he's very calm, and there's not a ton of pre-pitch rhythm. But what he's done is he's synced up his knee lift with the pitcher's release. And so what you'll watch is just watch how calm he is as he's in his stance. But once Maley's arm gets up, you'll see India start with the knee lift. So the timing, the way he syncs it up, knee up, barrel up. And everything just looks really under control. And the sequence of the movements is so under control right now that it looks like he's getting a longer look at the baseball than anybody else in the league. That bat just rests on the shoulder. Now watch, knee up, barrel up. Everything kind of starts with that knee going up.
Well, he's put together some impressive numbers this season.
Here's the one thing I like too, Berkey. Watch the take. Okay, so you talk about getting that backside down. If that backside doesn't go down on that take, if he's standing up, he can't stop his swing. Like this, I mean, your lower half isn't there to stop that swing. He ends up striking out on a check swing. Even the takes.
Yes. Well,
he's doing it right.
And your nose is right down there on it, so
right.
the pitch recognition is even that much better.
Have we seen this before? Does it compare to Brent Rooker?
It does. It's certainly comparable to the year that Brent Rooker put up last year, and those are his totals from the end of the year. India's ahead of his pace, really in just runs from a standpoint of if you look at him right now to where Rooker was at this point in the season. But those are big numbers to shoot for. Obviously, it had been a long time since Rafael Palmeiro had won the Triple Crown. Rooker won the Triple Crown last year. India certainly has a chance. It's one of the best SEC seasons we've seen in the BB Core bat era.
This is the 9th pitch of this plate appearance. And it'll roll on.
So in a year where there's been some pretty good offensive performances so far in this league, he's slugging 160 points higher than anybody else in the league.
Yeah, the numbers between him and the next closest guy in the stats that he's leading are awfully impressive.
His OPS is 1422 coming in. On base plus slugging. Second in the league in 31 walks. And he takes ball 4.
And I like the pitch and I like the take. There's no reason to give in to him right there. Kind of a backup slider. You can see how late he decided to take this pitch. Watch how late the bat stops. And that's absolutely the right call. He certainly did not swing. And another professional at bat from Jonathan India.
KP, good take.
Good take.
I feel like I'm missing an inside joke there.
No, it's just a good take.
Okay.
That's what he said. But we showed a replay like 4 pitches ago. It was all about the take.
I think you actually talked about it too.
Sorry.
Plug in.
Well, you know, you guys
Plug in.
You guys are kind of got your own thing going. I'm just kind of butting in, so I'm just making sure I'm not missing something.
I think maybe you got baby brain going right now.
Fair enough.
A fantastic new addition to the Bird family arrived in a bundle this week.
That's
Congratulations.
right. Technically last week, but we got him home this week.
There's Connor.
What's up, dude?
First ever national television appearance, and now we just upset the rest of your children.
And I'm sure the kids and my wife are thinking, but the tubes are out now, folks. We got him home. He's breathing well. Thanks to the folks at Norton's and at the NICU. They got him home in a week, and it's good to have him home.
You'll be hanging with him about 3:30 this morning.
Yeah, that's right.
You'll get that look at about 3:30 in the morning.
Can we get an updated picture then?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you can.
Ball into strike to Will Dalton. And Dalton launches one to left field. It is gone. 3-run shot in this game blown wide open with a monster third from the #1 team in the country.
Well, again, the potent bats in this Florida lineup just seem to never stop. And in a game where we have the league leaders in home runs, Will Dalton decides to hop ahead of everybody. A fastball out over the plate and beautiful extension. You see the path. It's going to produce a ton of fly balls. And that's ambushing a heater right there. A rocket out to left center field as the Gators take a commanding 6-run lead in this one.
J.J. Schwartz is the 8th batter of the inning for Florida. That'll close the book, by the way. The book's been closed on Hazelwood, who's allowed 3 runs. And now 3 allowed by Malley as he faces Schwartz, 1-1.
I just think you got a hard time selling that one in the clubhouse. Now, obviously, Nick Minjone's built up a ton of equity with his boys, and they've done things in this Kentucky program that nobody's ever done, and they're poised to have another phenomenal season. But this is a tough one to sell to your guys.
You know what I think you do? Boys have made a mistake.
Yeah.
Made a mistake. That's it. Let's go try to win the next 2.
I think
it's a long way home in this one, don't get me wrong, but you facing pretty good arm on the other side and a darn good offense.
Yeah, if hockey runs out there and goes hit by pitch, walk, and gives up a 6 spot, then that's a lot easier to handle than you didn't get to see him anymore.
I'll present it from another angle, though. If your pitching staff knows what the game plan is and you have confidence in your bullpen, you expect the guys coming out of the pen to do their job.
Yes, but I think that even the guys in the bullpen could see what hockey had tonight.
Well, the other thing is I mean, they brought a guy in with a 5.73 ERA. I mean, it's not like they're rolling out there with one of the top bullpens in the country where you can throw 4, 5, 6 guys out there and know you're going to mow through a lineup. I don't get it.
It started with the bottom third of the batting order. A hit by pitch, a walk, another walk, and that was all she wrote. This is Austin Langworthy, 0 for 1 of the strikeout. By the way, with that home run, Will Dalton now tied for 3rd in the country with Albie Weiss of Cal State Northridge and Brent Spillane of Illinois, who's having a monster season.
Yes, he is.
National leaders Spencer Torkelson at Arizona State. He's hit 18.
Freshman. Broke Barry Bonds' freshman home run record at Arizona State.
Quickly. He broke that record quickly.
Back-to-back Ks for Malley, but before that, Will Dalton, big stick.
We told you they could slug, folks. The Gators showing you some big bats early on. Will Dalton, 14 homers.
Fun to hang with those guys earlier this year. Brady Singer going tonight, Jackson Kowar tomorrow. Both have a chance to go in the first round. And Kowar was not going to Florida. Remember, he was going to Clemson. Jack Leggett was let go. Jackson Kowar reopened his recruiting. Kevin O'Sullivan happy, and quite honestly, Brady Singer too. Those guys would go on to talk about things they've learned from each other. They've been roommates from day one, and both have a chance to play this game for a long time if they can stay healthy.
Well, if you think about it, Brady Singer shouldn't have been there either.
No, he shouldn't have.
Highest drafted player to show up in college.
And if the Blue Jays
in his class
hadn't insulted him,
right,
he'd be in the Toronto organization right now.
Well, you look at this, and again, Kevin O'Sullivan, probably the most active head coach recruiter in the country as far as Power 5 conferences is concerned. Yep. He's had 3 sets of stars. Now, I'm getting ahead of myself a little bit with Mason Leftwich, but he had Puck and Shore, same age, right? You come in, you just kind of knew, okay, those two are going to be dudes. Then he has Singer and Kowar. Again, Kowar kind of fell in his lap, but nevertheless, you could see. And now he's got the next generation. Of course, Dyson will be back, but you see with Leftwich and Mace, it's just amazing how he's able to just keep pumping out.
Forget about Faedo last year.
Yeah,
I mean,
but you know what I'm saying.
2 in a class.
Yeah, 2 in a class. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, premier high-end talent that he's been able to. And the other thing is he gets them to school.
Yeah.
Like, it's one thing to go, you can sign the best class in the world, but if you get 5 guys going to first round, your best class, now you're pretty worried.
And
he gets them to school.
By way of explanation, the Blue Jays used their 2nd-round pick on Brady Singer. They thought something was wrong with his arm. They weren't going to offer him the full slot money, which was just over $1 million. He said, nothing's wrong with my arm. And he showed up on campus like he wanted to prove that nothing was wrong with his arm.
I think he does every time he goes out there. I mean, the mentality is just, I mean, he's meaner than a Hornet when he's on the mound, and I love it.
It's a little bit like Bregman, but from the pitcher side, where there's that chip on your shoulder. And Bregman wore, 30 because of 30 teams that passed on him in the first round. And
did Bregman ever curse Mother Nature?
I don't know. I'm sure there's some stories of the rain delays in Baton Rouge that we could probably find out about. But, yeah, Singer pitches angry. He pitches with a chip on his shoulder that you don't normally see from a blue chip prospect with this kind of talent, but it is certainly fun to watch.
There's your changeup. Now he does have one.
How about it?
It's the one thing that he said he really has learned from Jackson Kowar. Kowar, one of the premier changeups in the country. That's the one thing that Singer's going to need to continue to grow on as he gets into professional baseball. Pretty good turn through the first 3 innings, though, for Singer. 3 scoreless, 3 in the books. It's 6-0 Gators.
It's a 6-0 lead for Florida. Top of the 4th inning. Tom Hart, Chris Burke, Kyle Peterson up in the booth. And down in the home dugout, head coach Nick Mingione, the SEC Coach of the Year. Coach, thanks for being with us. We got everything squared away down there?
Guys, I feel like I'm fishing with my brother and I'm all tangled in a knot. Oh, my goodness.
You left your lure in the tree. Hey, Zach Hockey looked like a first-rounder the first 6 batters he faced. How tough a decision was that to stick to the blueprint and take him out of the game after 2?
No, that was really easy, and there's a really good chance you're going to see him again. So obviously we haven't had a ton of success with that middle game, and obviously we're trying to do something different, and it didn't work right there for that half, but this game we got a lot of baseball left.
So when you say we're going to see him again, you start him in one and then maybe bring him in the back half of another? Is that what you're...
Yeah, we'll see. We'll see how he goes, but obviously he's done good in short stints, so we like that role for him, and there's a really good chance that, he might pitch again.
So you're telling me after that start it wasn't tough at all to pull him? Not at all?
He was pretty good now.
You know what? I used the analogy like the runner at first base. When he fake breaks, why does the pitcher seem to always throw the curveball in the dirt? Right? But the fake break is what led to the curveball in the dirt, right? But so you could sit there and you could second guess it, but that's not how I live, man. I have a plan and I understand adjustments, but that guy's really good for short stints, and you saw it today.
Awesome. Hey, Coach, this is a big opportunity for your team this weekend. Kentucky knocked off #1 Florida a couple of years ago when they came up here. What's it going to take to get a series win this weekend?
Well, the biggest thing is we're going to have to get to their starting pitching, right? I think we all know how good their starters are, so we got to be able to get to Singer, and you know what, as the game goes on and we get more at-bats and see them more, it should help us out.
Nick, thanks so much for your time. We appreciate it.
Thank you, Nick.
Thank you, guys. Go Cats.
And Coach Nick Mingione, the SEC Coach of the Year. And for Florida, Blake Reese at the plate. And Reese draws a walk here.
Well, like with everything, he convinced me. Like, I believe him, it wasn't tough. Like, I believe him. He still didn't convince me it was the right move. I don't believe it was the right move at all. But he convinced me that he didn't even second guess his decision.
Well, he's got a plan. It's obviously has a plan for Zach Hockey going forward, which we'll see the remainder of the series when Hockey returns in a relief role. But it also means that he has a plan for his rotation going forward, starting next week, right? Because all indications are that Zach Hockey will be pitching out of the bullpen next weekend.
Yeah, and I get that he wasn't going to throw 7 in this game, but with the low pitch count,
why?
I guess they feel like they need him from a bullpen standpoint the next 2 days. I hear you, but I don't know. Just the low pitch count, sizzling start, you would think that they'd at least run him out there for one more.
Keenan Bell lifts one to center. Eklinski is able to catch up to it. 1 down. And that'll bring Brady Smith to the plate. You know what? I really appreciate the fact that in this league and what we do on a regular basis, that we have coaches that put on a headset in the middle of the game and answer questions like that. Because number one, it gives us a chance to hear what they're thinking. And Nick Mingione, whether you agree with it or not, he explained his line of thinking.
Well, here's the one thing I'm certain of when you're around Nick. I knew there was a plan.
Sure.
I mean, there absolutely was a plan. It wasn't like they looked at each other after 2 and went, let's go get it. I knew it was there. I disagree with it. If we look up on Saturday and they roll him out in the 7th inning and they got a chance to win a series, I can be comfortable being wrong in this situation, but I would have rolled with him for longer than that.
Well, in the language he used, right? He's really good in short stints. He said that twice.
Yeah.
Okay, so we get it. You think he's a 40-pitch guy or a 30-pitch guy, but like you're at 7, 8, 9. He's just dominated 6 of the best hitters in the league. Okay, how about a short stint one time through the order? I think that seems like that would have been a really tough decision, but I believe him that it wasn't.
Okay, well,
he was convinced.
To answer your question, though, 7, 8, 9, but you're bringing in a guy who's struggled. It could be just as much about that next guy as it was Hockey. If you're going to get 3 outs from Hazelwood and he has struggled, let's give him the bottom third of the
7, 8,
order.
9. Fair enough. Yep.
The end result is Florida put a 6th spot on the board in the 3rd inning after Zach Hockey didn't allow anybody to reach.
With 2 hits.
A double and a home run.
And you could feel it coming. I mean, from the second it was the hit by pitch, walk. You felt it was going to be a pretty big number.
Smith waits on it. Little pop up to shallow left. Pompey gets there late. Breaking for third is Reese. And he will make it all the way to third on a little pop up.
Yeah, that was a misread. Sometimes as an outfielder, a big swing off the end of the bat can cause you to take a drop step. And what we'll see is Blake Reese getting a good read that this ball was going to drop. But Tristan Pompey with a poor outfield read causes a ball that maybe he can make a play on with his athleticism to fall easily, and Blake Reese goes first to third.
I think, though, I mean, that's the toughest play for an outfielder to read, is that full swing on the pull side that goes off the end, because you can't tell if it's barreled up, and immediately, well, if it gets in on a guy's hands, you can see that in the outfield. You can recognize that it doesn't get out there. But
the opposite is also true. The bad swing that is barreled up, I know in my days in the outfield, and I got there in pro ball, and so I didn't have a ton of innings under my belt, but the lunge ball that you like, ooh, that's an ugly swing. Yeah, but they nuke it. That can burn you the opposite way.
Yeah, I say that due to my extensive outfield play.
Would you rate your outfield play better or a tick behind your base running?
I can flat run the bases. I mean, I can go home to second. As long as I make it to second, I could go home to second really quick. Every once in a while, you blow a tire going around first. But
chance for a double play. To short for one. Back to first. It is late and a run scores. Gators up by a touchdown.
Molly's got to get his glove down here. Nice job by Cottom to Dawson. Dawson really quick feet and a nice release. Molly just doesn't get his glove to the ground there. That ball scoots just underneath him. Is he out? What do you think, Tommy? No, Lippitt's going to beat it anyway. But that ball catches him right in the ankle.
3 ribbies now for Lippitt.
Right off the ankle. I guess that's what you get for not getting your glove all the way down, but that couldn't have felt good.
Alec Malley working against Nelson Maldonado. They'll keep Lippitt near the bag. He's 6 for 8 on stolen bases this year. Troy Squires holding Lippitt on at first. Sliders popped up, and that'll reach the seats. Ouch.
It's an offense that just feels. I mean, we called a lot of Florida games last year. Mm-hmm. There were times where the offense was almost unwatchable. I mean, you didn't know how they were even going to get an inning started. And this year, with a number of the same players, and of course that's why we were so high on that team to start last year. We thought Lippitt would make a jump. We thought India would make a jump. We thought Maldonado, who had a pretty good year, would be a dude. We thought Rivera would be, a star college player. We thought Schwartz would maybe bounce back from a little bit down of the sophomore. It just didn't happen. But obviously the pitching got them to Omaha, and then the position players came up really, really big when they needed to in Omaha. But this year, man, it just feels different. They feel like they can strike at any time.
The one thing I like, too, and it's just knowing your club, they've got 5 sack months the whole year. So Kevin O'Sullivan's letting them play a little bit now, too. The offense has earned themselves a little bit more A little bit more ability to take some chances. Obviously, it's paid off. They had another one here. It's 7-0 Gators.
Number 1 Florida leads 9th-ranked Kentucky 7-0 as we move to the home half of the 4th inning. Brady Singer has thrown 43 pitches through 3. He's only allowed 1 hit. Tom Hart, Kyle Peterson, Chris Burke. We're going to talk a little bit in this inning, this half inning, about some of the new analytics that we have measurements for, including launch angle and exit velocity. Here's Troy Squires to lead off the 4th. Burke, if you're explaining that to someone who has no idea what baseball is, how do you simplify it?
Exit velocity is the speed at which the ball leaves the bat. Launch angle is the angle at which the ball leaves the bat. And in today's world, via TrackMan, we have the ability to monitor those things, collect that data, and then come up with some pretty hardcore numbers on, okay, what angle does the ball need to leave the bat at what speed to produce maximum results, especially as it pertains to hits, extra base hits, and specifically home runs. And many players are using that data to work on their swing and try to perfect, especially from a bat pass standpoint, the launch angle they're looking to do the most damage. So if you're watching baseball, those are very much popular buzzwords, buzz phrases in today's game.
There's strike 3 on Troy Squires.
Strike 4.
Yeah. And Luke Hires a guy that has some measurements.
Yeah, so let's talk about how you create launch, which is done through the bat path. So exit velocity, kind of the strength of a player, but here's the launch. So get the baseball on, get the bat on plane with the baseball, work up through the hit, and now a solid contact is going to produce a ball that leaves. So this one's 27 degrees, leaves the bat at 27 degrees launch and 106 exit velo, and that ball's not coming back. So you got to get the bat on plane. You'll hear that phrase a lot in hitting circles, and that's essentially trying to match the plane of the pitch with your bat path. And as you move that up through the baseball, somewhere normally between 8 and 12 degrees up through the hit, if you square the ball up, it's going to go in the air, and if there's enough velocity, enough exit velocity off the bat, it will stay in the air for a long time.
Okay, so I want to take it back when you were playing and you didn't have all the analytics and everything to go with it. Okay?
Yep.
Were you thinking some of these same things? You just didn't necessarily have the data to come back and prove it out?
Yeah, I think, there's a piece of that where everybody's talking about how new a lot of this stuff is. What's new is that we now have the numbers. The black and white numbers.
Yes.
But
yes.
Any good hitter has always been concerned about his ball flight. And everybody's always evaluated hitters on how hard the ball comes off the bat. They just have the data. So here's Hires' spray chart. You see the home runs, mostly to the pull side, a couple balls to right center field. Average exit velocity on his homers, 104, which is equal or on par to the MLB average.
So that's a track and spray chart. There was a TrackMan exit velocity earlier and the TrackMan launch angle, a service that a lot of these teams subscribe to allow you to measure those numbers and read those reports.
Yeah, to me, if you're not using TrackMan, you're behind the times.
Absolutely.
The data that TrackMan provides from a pitching standpoint, KP, and a hitting standpoint, to me, is invaluable in today's day and age.
Wes Johnson, the pitching coach at Arkansas, is a wizard with this stuff.
Becker, opposite field, dumps it into the corner. Over to get it is Langworthy deep in the pen, and he lost it for a moment. Around third higher, and Kentucky gets a run on the board on their second hit of the game. Both of them belong to Luke Becker.
Now Luke Becker's cracked the Brady Singer code. A couple really good at-bats, both to the backside of the field, and there's that get-me-over breaking ball, trying to backdoor. Becker can keep his nose down right there. Let that ball travel and use the whole field. Just a great job of recognizing the pitch early, letting it get there, and then keeping that ball fair as he squirts it into the left field corner. Langworthy can't come up with it, and the Cats are on the board.
So here's Cole Cottom, who's 0 for 1 with a pop out to right. You were talking about the exit velocity for Luke Hire. Now, obviously, we're talking apples and oranges, these bats versus wood bats in the big leagues, but Yohan Moncada leads the major leagues with an average exit velocity just over 100 miles an hour. Guys like Jose Abreu, Ryan Zimmerman, Giancarlo Stanton, Joey Gallo, all 96 miles per hour or better.
And those are on all balls put in play. So not just base hits, just all balls put in play. They're hitting it that hard. We got Aaron Judge last year, had the hardest ball put in play, 121 miles an hour, hardest home run put in play. Launch angle of just 15 degrees. Bregman, using the Crawford boxes at Minute Maid Park, hit a home run at 88 miles an hour, which at 88 miles an hour and 27 degrees of launch, that had a 99% out probability.
Except
it
at that place.
It ended up being a homer.
KP drives faster than that. Little chopper off the bag. India. That guy plays third like a shortstop.
I agree, and he's so cool. As soon as he threw the ball, he was already fixing his hair, which is just
I don't know what that feels like, but
really
I like it.
cool. But yeah, this is a shortstop playing third base, folks, and I love the break on the ball, and then the athleticism to finish the play on the run. Let's see if we get. Oh, the hat came off, so the crowd got to look at the big league salad, and this is a big leaguer, folks. Jonathan India playing at an All-American level for sure.
Ben Eklinski at the plate now for Kentucky. Could he play short in the big leagues?
I don't see any reason why he couldn't. I think, you know, he shows up. Dalton Guthrie's a year ahead of him, and an All-American defender at shortstop. So he plays third, and then the way the team is currently constituted, they just feel like he's the best bet at third. He could play short, but they don't feel like anybody else could play third at the level he can.
Here's the thing, and this is why I think he's got a chance to be the first college position player taken in the draft this year. And it's because, to me, one of the things that you just said, if he can play short, you know the bat's going to play. If he can play short, now you've got a premium offensive player in the middle of the diamond.
To the left side, past India and into left field. Eklinski comes up with a 2-out hit.
This is one of those where you're wondering from a positioning standpoint. Singer throwing sinkers and sliders, and that ball's kind of hit no man's land. But Lippett is not playing that 6-hole as much as I would play the 6-hole against behind a pitcher like Brady Singer, who is the sinker slider combo. You'd think you'd rather give him the ball up the middle than the ball in the 6-hole, but Eklinski wears out that 6-hole for another run scoring hit.
Ryan Johnson at the plate. Okay, talk me through what you mean by that. Where would you position him?
Yeah, so to me, if you're behind a sinker slider guy, the odds say that the ball's going to go in that 6-hole just as much as it is up the middle. So bring the second baseman up the middle, let him try to cover the middle of the field, let the shortstop sit on that 6-hole, and hope that your pitcher can control some of the ground balls that go to the shortstop side of second base.
With a right-handed hitter.
With a right-handed hitter. To me, that would be the smartest, especially with a pull-dominant hitter like Eklinski.
Well, because, I mean, if you get a slider, if you get a ball on the ground with a slider right on right, most of the time it's going to be a rollover ground ball to the left side. So it's going to be pulled more into that 6-hole. And if a guy leans on one and stays on it up the middle, that's just a really good swing. Yeah. It's not easy to do against a slider.
Singer's 0-2. Strike 3 called. He pumps 90, and he finishes with the K. Book ending the inning, but in between, the Cats get a pair. Florida has a 7-2 lead against Kentucky. Tom Hart, Chris Burke, Kyle Peterson upstairs, and out in the elements, Kevin O'Sullivan. Sully, what do you think about Brady Singer thus far tonight?
He's been doing the ball really good, I think. You know, he's been pitching the inner half of the plate very effectively. You know, obviously he had the 0-2 hit by pitch there, ended up scoring, and he gave up an 0-2 hit in the 6-hole. But other than that, I think he's been throwing the ball really well.
You look like you're ready for a blizzard. I mean, it's like 49 degrees. It's not really that cold.
Okay, you have to understand. You have to understand. Down in Gainesville, 49. It might as well be 33. No, I'm not used to this.
Hey, turn around for your offense this year. I mean, if you
I thought you asked me to turn around.
No. You're doing great so far. You've done this a few times. You're doing great. I'm going to ask that question again. Turn around for your offense is your don't turn around. But what's the key to the turnaround this year? Because it's drastically different than it was.
Well, I think, you know, we've got some guys in the middle of the order there that, you know, have, double-digit home runs, and we've been able to drive the ball. Just like tonight, we only have 3 hits, but, you know, 2 of them was a bases clearing double and a home run. So that's just been a little bit different, and I think we've got some length to our lineup. You know, the bottom half of the lineup has been very productive.
Solo, you've coached some really good ones in your time in Gainesville. Where is Jonathan India on that list, and specifically, where would you rank this season? I know we're only halfway through, on the list of great seasons you've seen since your time in Gainesville?
Well, I was asked that Tuesday night after the game about our team, and unfortunately, we're evaluating how we finish the season. So in all fairness to the really good teams that we've had in the past, we'll have to evaluate at the end of the year. And as far as Jonathan's concerned, where he's had a really great year offensively, he's been obviously outstanding. But I think what gets overlooked at times is his defense and his ability to run the bases and do all the other things in the game that makes him a well-rounded player.
Do you have hand warmers down there?
Gloves. Smart. But you can see it.
There's
neon green.
Good color.
No doubt.
Sully, thanks for your time. We appreciate it.
Thanks, guys.
It's Aaron McGeorge. I'm sure he didn't mind seeing Zach Hockey leave the game after 2 innings.
Man,
he didn't mind. Anybody wearing a gray jersey didn't mind at all. What do you got, Berkey?
I'm gonna get on him tomorrow for dodging my question. I thought it was pretty straightforward. Where do you rank India on your great player list? And he didn't even come close to answering.
His mind is cold right now.
I'm gonna
he got around to it.
over him tomorrow.
Aaron McGeorge is a new pitcher on the mound for Kentucky, junior out of Henry Clay High School right here in Lexington and then Wabash Valley College. 5'11", listed at 170, and he throws in the low 90s. Didn't pitch in the fall because of a foot injury. Here's 90.
And I like the pitch selection. If you're going to get Jonathan India right now, you better keep it firm late, because what he showed you last at bat is that he's on the breaking ball. He is really seeing the ball deep. This is just a 4-spot heater right here, just a 4-seamer up a little bit and on the outside part of the plate. You see India kind of sitting breaking ball right there, tardy on that 2-strike fastball.
Will Dalton looks at a breaking ball for his strike. All right, so a 4-seamer and a curve. George is a big Reds fan. Did they have a change today?
Yeah, no more Brian Price. How do you fire a manager 3 weeks into the season? It makes no sense to me.
Unless you're Philadelphia.
It just makes no sense.
Into right. Higher. 2 down. J.J. Schwartz up now. Florida, Kentucky tomorrow night, and then Florida State and BC in a very special game Saturday at 3 o'clock from Fenway Park.
That would be neat. The ALS awareness game from Fenway. Be out there with Boog and Eddie Perez, Molly McGrath. Get you boys tomorrow night for Boston. I'll find some SEC network somewhere in Boston.
Oh, you need your phone, man.
I got to figure that out.
How about Aaron McGeorge right here? Go face Jonathan India, Will Dalton, and J.J. Schwartz, young man. Looking awfully nice so far.
I think pace is so important when you're on the mound, and part of it is it exudes confidence. If you work quick, if you stand up there like you're ready to go, everybody behind you thinks that you believe in what you're doing. And it's short sample this inning, but McGeorge looks that way. He gets the ball, he peers in, he's ready to go.
Line towards the corner. Blind spot here, and that is a foul ball apparently.
Well, you're right. I mean, everything about his body language just exudes confidence. He comes in the game in 9 appearances, in 9.1 innings. He got 15 hits and 6 walks, and he's facing arguably, maybe the best 3, 4, 5 in the country, and he's standing out there. What looks like
he's ready to go.
Ultimate
Give me the ball,
confidence.
let's go.
Yeah.
Singer is similar in his pace.
Yes.
Yeah. So we put him on the clock today. And I've never done this before with somebody in the windup just because I've never thought to do it. So if there's a guy on base you're trying to steal second base and a guy's in the stretch. What are you looking for a move to home plate time?
Over 1-3.
Okay, so 1-3 in that range. Out of the windup, Brady Singer was a 1.65 to home plate. Out of the windup, he was a 1.65. That's how fast the move is to home.
And it's not just the tempo of his windup, but it's also the way he gets the ball and gets right back on the rubber. Everything about it. And one of the reasons why I think his defense plays so well behind him. He fills up the zone, he works quickly, he competes, and those boys play at a high level behind him.
Hanging breaking ball is launched to left. It will get to the wall after a couple of hops. And Schwartz trying to stretch it for two. He's in with a 2-out double.
You know, so often a previous swing and an at bat when you're on the mound will tell you what to go to and what to not go to. And J.J. Schwartz fouled a breaking ball straight back 2 pitches before this. Now, this is not a good one. It's up in the zone. It's one he can really handle. But the swing earlier on the curveball was a comfortable swing. He just hit the bottom part of the baseball. This one, ball's a little bit more elevated, drives it out to left field.
Truthfully, he's lucky he got that one back.
Agreed.
That one could have ended up in the neighborhood beyond left field, but Schwartz topped that one just a touch. And now he's still got a chance to get out of this inning with a 0.
Austin Langworthy 0 for 2, couple of strikeouts. By the way, to answer your question, KP, the Reds' 3-15 start, the franchise's second worst through 18 games in the past century. I don't think they're expected to contend for a pennant. But.
No, you know, some of that you're trying to appease the fan base, but I the good fortune of playing for Brian Price. He was the pitching coach when I was with the Diamondbacks. One of my favorite people in the game. A really, really good man.
Breaking ball misses low and in. Now that you've seen a handful of pitches from Aaron McGeorge as a hitter, what would you be looking to drive?
Well, I would eliminate the breaking ball from a standpoint of feeling like I need to look for it because I don't think the breaking ball is real sharp. So I'd be sitting dead red on the heater and just trust yourself that you're going to see the breaking ball. And when you're in a predictable count like this, that screams trouble for McGeorge in a 2-0 count with a runner in scoring position.
Does it help that his fastball is a 4-seamer from a hitter's perspective?
Well, you know, it can. You know, it depends on the count. Like right there, you paint a 4-seamer down and it holds its trajectory. That's a really good 4-seamer. Now, you start throwing that flat one in the middle part of the plate, then, yeah, give me a 4-seamer any day of the week. So, you know, not just because fastball has movement doesn't mean it's always necessarily better than a true 4-seamer. Most of that's relative to location. And that's just you get the 3-0 green light and you're hitting it sideways. That's a little bit of what's kind of puzzled this Florida staff about Austin Langworthy. They really thought this was going to be one of their guys. He's hitting 300, but it swings like that in a 3-0 count to hit a ball in your own dugout, basically. That's why you haven't seen the power numbers from Langworthy that they maybe thought would come.
Aaron McGeorge retired the first 2 batters he faced before J.J. Schwartz hit a breaking ball to left field for a double and then a 3-2 walk to Austin Langworthy. And here's Blake Reese. Troublemaker, got it all going in the 3rd when he was hit by a pitch.
Well, and I think this is what Sully was talking about, the length of their lineup and how they can hurt you in different places in their order. They're really never out of an inning. And so after a couple dominant at-bats against India and Dalton, he's now got 2 outs and 2 on, and Florida's got a chance to put up another crooked number.
Not comparing Reese to J.J. Schwartz from a couple years ago, but in J.J.'s freshman year, it was a very deep, long lineup because you had a guy who hit 18 home runs, hitting in the 7th, 8th hole.
Right. Yeah, no, that with Bader and Richie Martin, Buddy Reed, that was a really good team. Peter Alonso's
going to hit the big leagues.
Yeah, that
for a while.
That was a deep lineup.
Alonso with the Mets. He's rated their number 7 prospect right now. I guess that puts him in front of Tim Tebow.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Maybe playing together, though.
I was thinking about that the other day. Mets are still in first place, right?
I believe so, yeah. That's all you're thinking about?
Well, no, here's the thing. If the Mets are the Mets of years past, and Tim Tebow is already in Double-A, he's going to be in the big leagues in September.
Who?
Tim Tebow. If the Mets are not in a pennant race.
Just from a PR move?
Oh, absolutely. I do believe that. Here's a flare that's going to drop for a base hit. And Florida gets another run across as J.J. Schwartz crosses. I mean, hear me out here. He's already in Double-A. From a PR perspective, they love the fact that they've got Tim Tebow in their organization. I believe that if they were not in the pennant race, Tebow gets a September call. Okay?
Maybe.
Okay.
I don't know.
Maybe, maybe not. But if they're in a pennant race and they're still in first place in September, odds shrink drastically that you're going to bring that to town.
Because you shouldn't.
No.
Well, from a baseball perspective, that's a whole other conversation. There's a good argument to be made he shouldn't be taking a spot at Double-A right now.
Yeah, I don't know that I have a problem with that. But I mean, immediately you bring him in, and you know the eyes and the cameras, and that. Not that there's already not enough of them in New York anyway, but yeah, I saw him a week and a half ago in D.C. actually, Sunday Night Baseball.
You didn't see Tim Tebow.
Did not see Tim Tebow. I saw Michael Conforto though, and he's starting to go now. He's healthy.
Back. Yeah.
I love the hitting piece with Conforto. I'm always pleased when I hear hitters break down what they do and their feel matches the real.
Yeah.
There's so many hitters that have a feel of what they're trying to do that doesn't really add up with when you turn the video on. But Conforto, when he was walking through his move with A-Rod, he has ownership over his movements in an advanced way that's going to serve him very well. His talent's pretty good too. But anytime you're absolutely sure of what you're doing and why you're doing it, I think you got a much better chance to weather the storms that are inevitably going to come to any hitter in Major League Baseball.
Keenan Bell at the plate for Florida. Runner goes. By the way, Timmy's hitting .222 through 10 games in the Eastern League. He homered in his first at bat. You may have seen that highlight. It's been,
of course, he did.
Tough to repeat the success, though. He has struck out 14 times.
They should intentionally walk him in his first at bat. Every level he plays at. Not from a fan perspective, but if you were trying to win the game, the odds are pretty good in his favor. He's going to do something memorable.
The Binghamton Mets changed their name a few years ago. They're now called the Rumble Ponies.
Which is strong.
What lost? I mean, if Rumble Ponies won, what lost?
That's a fair question. By the way, Harrison Bader hitting .235 in the big leagues right now.
Where's Alonso at? Did you find Alonso?
Yeah, I got Alonso. Alonso's he's in Double-A. He's a Rumble Pony himself.
Yeah, he is.
Who knew?
You called it, KP.
And he's hitting .333. They're named the Rumble Ponies, I believe, because there are a lot of carousels in the central New York area, and one of the manufacturers makes the horses that are on carousels, hence the Rumble Ponies.
Yeah. My day is complete. As is the inning. Another run for the Gators, 8 so far. Need to see this Kentucky offense get going. That's good.
All right, Dari, thanks. We were talking to Kevin O'Sullivan about that Missouri team. They just faced him this past weekend in Gainesville, and he is really impressed with that pitching staff. Ground ball to third, hot shot. India's got to recover. Oh. And it is handled at first by Keenan Bell. And Alex Rodriguez robbed by his counterpart at the hot corner.
Well, the biggest difference between, we talked about Jonathan India being able to play shortstop. The biggest difference is reaction time. This ball is smoked at India, and Keenan Bell does a nice job of bailing him out on the backside. I think they get that call right. It is really close at first base. They're going to take a look at it. I think that call will stand, but India did a very nice job of recovering there on a ball that was smoked off the bat of Alex Rodriguez.
Force calls are reviewable within conference play and the SEC tournament.
I think that one's going to stay.
Yeah, look at this lunge. So the long lunge at the end, the foot just seems to hang in the air a frame too long. And
look at Bell give ground on that too.
That is a beautiful thing to see.
I mean, that's waiting as long as he possibly can. Now you run the risk, obviously the foot gets there a little bit ahead of time, but it just gives him that much more time to read that hop, which was not going to be an easy one to handle.
You look how low he is down there to give himself the best vantage point. Get your eyes behind the baseball.
If we didn't mention this play is being reviewed by this SEC crew. Somewhere back there. Those aren't the umpires. Hey, there they are.
Hello, boys.
That was an efficient review. And that one's gonna stand.
Call Berkey. Are you as good at changing diapers as you are calling replays?
I can change a diaper now. We'll see. I've got plenty of those miles on my tires, but we'll see that.
We've seen.
I've proven that one.
Trey Dawson to the plate with the bases empty.
My favorite walk-up song in the league right here. From West Virginia, comes up to Little John Denver, Tommy Hart.
Beautiful.
Maybe you can sing that one for us next time.
I don't think we have clearance to that music. Otherwise, I'd be all over it. By the way, KP, you asked the other options on the survey for the AA Binghamton fan survey a couple years ago. The Rocking Horses, Gobblers, Bullheads, Timber Jockeys, Stud Muffins.
I like Bullheads.
Binghamton.
Caught a bullhead?
They got a lot of bullheads in the Susquehanna.
You don't even know what a bullhead is.
No,
Good Lord.
I don't. Would you like to enlighten me?
Have Hart looking up.
It's a launch angle on this one in foul territory. Off the glove.
Foul.
And a foul ball. Great hustle by Langworthy.
Nobody really wanted that one. I felt like Lippett at the end probably should have taken control of that ball. If there's one place where Florida's not as good, two places really where Florida's not as good as they were last year, it's shortstop and catcher defensively. And that's a ball that Dalton Guthrie probably takes command of and makes a play on. We saw him do it in Omaha.
He went sliding on the track.
Yeah, that's right. And that's a ball right there where certainly Langworthy had a chance to make that play, but you'd like to see Lippett really command the defense right there and finish that ball as opposed to giving way late. As it is, Dawson gets another chance.
Trey Dawson 0 for 1. Grounded out his first time up.
And that's where, Tommy, that's where you start talking about, can they repeat? Certainly on paper they're good enough to repeat. They passed the eye test. There's no reason why they can't win another national championship. But as deep as this offense is relative to last year's team, being behind defensively at those two premier spots could bite you in Omaha, where the game is less offensive, more defensive traditionally. Now, last year we had the most offensive College World Series in the history of TD Ameritrade, but
despite the fact that Florida only hit 222 there.
Yeah, they won the most offensive TD Ameritrade CWS with a 220 average, but that just speaks to their dominant pitching. But the defense will have to play at a very high level if they're going to repeat.
Tristan Pompey was a first-team all-conference performer last year for Kentucky. By the way, we're talking about Brady Singer turning down the Blue Jays limited offer when he was taken in the second round. So what did the Blue Jays lose? They didn't just lose Brady Singer as a chance to join the organization. They gained a second-round draft pick for the next draft. They used that draft pick on Ole Miss's J.B. Woodman. He was taken just a few spots ahead of Bo Bichette. You see what Bo Bichette did when they played a game in Montreal this year? That's Stante's son.
Yeah.
He hit the walk-off.
No, it was Guerrero.
No, it was Vladdy Jr.
Oh,
yeah. It was Vladdy Jr.
Whatever.
Come on,
Bichette, Guerrero.
And they sound the same. I get
uniform. Just seeing if you guys were paying attention.
This time we were.
Thank you.
How about the Dunedin team last year in the Florida State League? Had Guerrero Jr., Bichette Jr., and Craig Biggio's boy all on the same team.
Cavan
Biggio all on the same team.
Yeah, Cavan went in that same draft in the 5th round. He was a Notre Dame guy. It's funny, you start talking about Florida players that have gone in the draft, you know, like 10th round or better, and sometimes you forget just how many of them there have been. We're talking about that with one of the relievers before the game today, right, KP? I totally forgot about Kirby Snead. He was a 10th round pick that same year.
You know who a guy that went a lot later than that, who's played longer than all of them, is Darren O'Day. Darren O'Day was, look it up, Google machine. O'Day was like a 40th rounder or something out of Florida. Darren O'Day's still pitching. He's probably pitched 10 years in the big leagues.
Singer has struck out 5.
Interesting climb the ladder four-seamer he threw there to Pompey.
Hey, I like that pitch with him now.
Yeah.
And I think you're going to start seeing more of it, especially on the nights to where his ball doesn't have as much sink.
Yeah, we've seen more four-seamers from him tonight.
Yep. What you got, Hart?
Working on it.
He's efforting.
It's at the top of the page.
I know he's in his 11th year. Got 90 seconds to look it up. 6 strikeouts for Brady Singer. Right here on the SEC Network, we'll have the Women's Golf and Tennis Championships. We start on the links at 9 a.m. Eastern, 8 Central from Greystone Golf and Country Club for the 6th straight year with a match play format to determine the title. Then at 2:30 Eastern, 1:30 Central, we'll be in Knox Vegas, University of Tennessee, for the tennis championship matches. Everything is also streaming live on the ESPN app, so you can watch it anywhere. Tom Hart alongside Chris Burke and Kyle Peterson. It's an 8-2 lead for the #1 team in the country. And Kentucky going back to the bullpen. Brett Marshall is the 5th pitcher used tonight for the Cats. This will be just his 4th appearance. An ERA of 12. And he's thrown 3 innings so far this year.
This is my homeboy right here from Louisville, Kentucky. Went to Trinity High School. His father, John Marshall, is a UK alumni. His brother Tyler played third base for this team last year. And Brett Marshall, who redshirted last year, now healthy, coming back off Tommy John, getting a chance to earn some meaningful innings out of the bullpen. You'll see a sinker, a changeup, and a breaking ball. A really good changeup.
All right, so with Brett Marshall on the mound now, we can talk about his numbers. We can show you his hometown. Tell us something about Brett Marshall that no one on his team knows.
That no one on his team knows.
Think of something that you know about him or his family that that the family knows, obviously, that would be a surprise if his teammates heard it.
He played this way up. I mean, it sounded like you knew the kid when he was born. I thought we'd have something right away.
I've known him, pretty much his whole life. But, boy, you put me on the spot with that one. I will say this is something his teammates do know. So I apologize for not having a good answer to your question. But I will say it's pretty cool when you see a kid put on the uniform of a team that he has spent his entire life dreaming of playing for, and as a preferred walk-on who had to come on and earn his spot on the team, to be able to do that and see him out here in an SEC game, I know it's a neat moment for his family, certainly for me as someone who's known him for so long, but this is as big a UK basketball fan and UK family as you will find.
He threw the other night in his hometown, got one out, needed just 2 pitches in the game at Jim Patterson against the Cardinals. I wonder what he thinks about Wenyon Gabriel, who's testing the draft waters.
I'm sure he has an opinion.
Looks pretty good.
Good one there.
Yep. 3-2 right on right changeup, and again he can really turn it over. You see the changeup grip there as he throws this one. It's got some real depth to it, and he can subtract a lot off the fastball. That one at 75 miles an hour.
I love the arm speed too. Arm speed looked like a fastball. Grip took everything off it.
Deacon Lippett has driven in 3 tonight, and he touches this one to right over the head of Heyer and off the fence. Lippett dives his way in for a 1-out double. Second double of the night for Lippett.
And Deacon Lippett, another one of those players who is just, even though he started the year suspended, he has come back and played outstanding baseball, offensively, defensively. He's shown me more arm than I knew he had, and he can really run. I mean, this is a ball that's very tough to get a double on, even though it squeaks by higher. He was flying around first base, and Deacon Lippett's turning himself into a pretty nice draft pick.
Absolutely.
Here's Nelson Maldonado. KP, to answer your question earlier about Darren O'Day, I don't think he was drafted at all. In fact, he played on that 05 College World Series team with Florida. He had been cut from the Gators team earlier in college and then went sidearm, and he wasn't going to play pro baseball. He passed the entrance exam to enter med school and decided, all right, let's see if pro ball will work. It's worked.
Hey, man, that low arm angle thing has reinvented and kick-started a lot of careers over the years. It's doing it for Texas A&M's closer right now. Mason Hoffman came out of the fall for Rob Childress' club, and Rob said, you're not going to pitch, so why don't we try this? Let's drop you down and see if it makes any difference. Now he's closing ball games at the back end.
And I love the way they found that natural arm slide. To third, foul. Rob Childress is trying to convince him that this is what he needed to do. So they took him out in the field. They rolled some grounders to him, and they said, all right, we're going to roll it to you, and you just turn and throw it over there. And the way he did it was down at the side. Said, look, you're a natural.
Almost like a Cal Ripken across the infield.
Yeah, charging third baseman, and Chipper Jones coming in and barehand one.
Well, he certainly looks like a natural, and it's real velocity from down there too.
Yeah.
It's 90-92 from down there.
He'll show you some 90s down there. And they needed a closer.
Yeah. Well, I think they thought they had some pieces that were going to play out.
They did.
But he is certainly proven very valuable with the role he is playing on that club. That club, and we talk about the big picture stuff, that club's one to keep an eye on, because the most difficult piece of their schedule is behind them, and they have played themselves into position certainly to host, and maybe if they get hot enough to get into the back end of that national seed conversation.
I would agree.
2 down for Jonathan India. He's got a 24-game hit streak on the line, and thus far tonight 0 for 2 with a walk. Berkey, did you ever have a long hit streak?
I did. Yeah, I think I was right around 20, somewhere in the mid-20s.
At what point, at what number does it get to where you take note of it?
Double digits. I mean, I think that just as a hitter, you're always aware that, hey, you always want to knock. Everybody wants to knock. Every game you play, you want to knock. So once somebody probably probably the first time somebody asks you about it is usually around the double-digit mark, and then at that point, I think it becomes certainly something that's on your radar on a nightly basis.
How did you feel if a reporter, for example, approached you and said, "Hey, man, you got a 14-game hit streak going. How about that?" What was Chris Burke's reaction?
Oh, I had no problem with it. I actually had a weird one. If I'm correct, I had like 20-something to end my freshman year. And I started my sophomore year with a 20-plus game hit streak. And I think I went like maybe 6 in a row to start the year and then had an O for something like that. So that one was a weird one because it was kind of the talk a little bit leading into the season. So I answered that question quite a bit. And I want to say that at least 4 or 5 of those were like one-fers to start the year. I was scratching them out, man. It was probably on my mind more than it should have. But, you know, the funny thing about that is, like I said, every hitter, you know, when you're over in a game, you're always trying to scratch out a knock. So from that standpoint, it's not that uncomfortable.
So the pressure isn't so much the streak. The pressure is just in the day on a good note.
Yes, I mean, you're always trying to salvage even if it's a walk or hit by pitch, you're always trying to salvage that last at bat if you go up 0 for 3 or 0 for 4.
Chases one out of the strike zone. Jonathan India will have to wait until the next at bat to try and continue longest hit streak in the SEC this season. Brady Singer's been magnificent tonight for Florida.
Yeah, he has been, as advertised so far for Brady Singer. 2 runs he gave up in the 4th, but besides that, has really been in control the whole night. Flashed a few changeups, but been primarily the fastball slider that we're so used to from Brady Singer. And he's shown that tonight, the ability to elevate the fastball. We haven't seen that as much from him. I like it, especially against a guy like Pompey, threw a 4-seamer, threw it right above his barrel, right underneath the bat. 5 innings, 6 strikeouts, just 1 walk for Singer.
I think the impressive part about Singer as he's matured in the 3 years at Florida is, you know, it used to just be, it felt like it was arm side fastballs and sliders. And now he can throw it to the glove side. He can elevate it if he needs to. He's got a few different breaking balls. The changeup is more in play than it's ever been. I mean, like you would expect to see a guy who's pitched as many innings as he has, but it's been fun to watch him add to his arsenal.
Hard to line up here for Kentucky. This is Luke Heyer, the 3-hole hitter.
And I do think the one thing that he will have to do more of when he gets into pro ball is use that 3rd pitch. Is use that changeup. You reach a point, it's usually AA-ish, to where you can't get by 2-3 times through an order only throwing 2 pitches. At some point, guys are going to eliminate one, lean on the other one. But that one
was right there.
That one we haven't seen is a right-on-right changeup.
No.
The slider we'll see, obviously, to the right-handed hitters. When you see a changeup from Singer, generally we're going to see it to the left-handed hitters. This one, though,
how about that?
Right-on-right change. I like it.
And Heyer swung at that like he was certainly not looking for it. That trajectory, no.
3 straight strikeouts for Brady Singer as Luke Becker comes to the plate. Becker has 2 of Kentucky's 3 hits tonight. A single and an RBI double. Why do you think we're seeing more changeups from Brady Singer tonight?
There was another one. You know, I don't know. I would tell you this: when you have a 6-run lead, you can work on a few things, and I think it's something that he absolutely needs to work on. Talking to Kevin O'Sullivan before the ballgame about that very pitch, he said, you know, in the bullpen it's really good. He just hasn't shown the ability to do it consistently in the game, and so some of it is you just have to throw more of them in the game. It's got to be that game speed. Then the confidence starts to grow with it.
It's funny, I had Cody Morris a couple weeks ago against the same Kentucky club, and Morris is almost only fastball changeup, and he won't really throw the breaking ball. And Skylar Meade, the pitching coach for South Carolina, is trying to get him to throw more breaking ball, and it's a different pitch, but it's the same thing. It's pretty good in the bullpen, but when he gets out there and it really gets down to it, he just believes in the changeup so much more.
Which I get, and it's great. The reality is sometimes you have to trick yourself into it. So you have some success with it, and then you realize that it's pretty good.
Trust it.
Tried to do that a little bit more today too. Is go fastball in late here to Kentucky hitters. That one missed just off the plate.
So as a soon-to-be first-round pick, What kind of personal responsibility does Brady Singer have to work on that pitch in game situations when you're trying to repeat as national champions?
Well, I would say that we talked about with Faedo last year a bunch that he didn't throw it enough, and he still went, what, 18th?
Yeah, that's about right.
To the Tigers. So, you know, I don't think it hurt his draft stock that he didn't show more. I would say their changeup percentage is probably about the same, Faedo last year to Singer this year.
Fair.
Becker rides one to left. Langworthy.
I think ultimately he wants to post the best numbers he possibly can, both for the team and for himself. And if he doesn't believe the changeup is part of that equation, then he's going to keep it in his back pocket until he gets situations like this where he's got a 6-run lead and he can play with it a little bit.
Well, but I would tell you this: he's aware of it. He's aware of the need to continue to develop it. And he's aware of you know, the reality is when you move into pro ball, he is going to have to throw it. Here's the difference. He gets into A ball, they say, you know what, you're going to throw 15 changeups tonight. You are throwing them. We don't care what happens with them, but you will throw 15 changeups tonight. There's another one.
You know, there was a game last year with Faedo about this time of the season. It might have been the Kentucky series where he just came out one night and just threw a ton of changeups for no conceivable reason other than either it was in his mind or he was directed to go out there and work on it. And the next part then is how does this change the scouting report for next week for Brady Singer?
Yeah, a little bit. I mean, I think you bring it up, but it's still the other two that in big spots he's generally going to go to.
He's definitely leaning on it right now. He's got a decent feel for it. He's continuing to go back to it. And I think when you get a swing like he got against Hire, that's the kind of swing that give you confidence to keep going to it in a 2-strike count. Ooh, that's a great take. And that's a take that's either a phenomenal take or you're guessing. Because that's the one that we saw Pompey swing through that's just above the hitting zone.
And he's trying to throw it there right now. Same spot.
8 strikeouts for Brady Singer. He hasn't allowed a hit since the 4th.
Top shelf gas, folks. Brady Singer got it all on display tonight.
Florida leads Kentucky 8-2 as we move to the 7th inning. Game 1 between these two teams in this top 10 showdown. Here's a look at who's playing with style, brought to you by Bell.
Will Dalton playing with style, folks. That is a stylish path through the hitting zone. One that's doing a lot of damage for the Florida Gators this year. A 3-run launch piece into left center field got the Gators out in front, and they have stayed there. That one put them up 6-0. They're still up 6 runs now, 8-2. And we were talking off camera, boys. This one right here is probably the runaway right now for newcomer of the year in this conference. 14 home runs, leads the league. Probably going to drive in somewhere between 60 and 70 runs and hit close to 20 homers. That's an awfully impressive debut coming into this league.
Aren't we talking off camera right now?
Good point. Well said, Tom.
Just welcome to the booth.
All fair? Does that work for you?
That'd be better. Hey, here's Brad Schinzer.
He's on camera.
He's a senior from Oxford, Michigan. Another piece of this Kentucky bullpen. Our concern earlier as he makes his 11th appearance was how can you have a bullpen game and save your bullpen for the rest of the series? Well, nobody's throwing more than an inning tonight for Kentucky.
Well, and the reality is the guys that have been their best guys out of the bullpen, they haven't thrown.
No.
And so I think that I understand what the plan was, and I guess to some extent it's gone to plan. They got 2 good innings to start from hockey.
I don't think I've ever seen, and I'm sure it's happened, you guys maybe have seen it, but I don't think I've ever seen a game between 2 top 10 teams where game 1 of the series, one team approached it almost like a Tuesday midweek game from a pitching standpoint.
Dawson at short. 1 down. Monday, we'll have the only softball game on the schedule in the Southeastern Conference. It's the final game of the 3-game series between 10th-ranked Tennessee and number 17 Alabama. That's at Rhodes Stadium in T-Town. Monday night softball, 7 p.m. Eastern, 6 Central, right here on the SEC Network and streaming live on the ESPN app. Here's J.J. Schwartz. I think another question that would be answered as soon as tomorrow is how soon can Zach Hockey return? He threw 28 pitches in 2 innings. So obviously you hope you get as many as you can out of Sean Jelly, but the way hockey threw tonight, he's going to be valuable out of the bullpen in a 1-inning stint or such.
Saturday for sure.
Yeah, for sure. But could you run him back tomorrow?
Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't want to.
15 would be better than 28, right?
Yeah, and I think the other thing is he's now been in a starting role for a few weeks. The ability to bounce back could be a little bit different doing it the first time. You don't know exactly what you want to do. I'd want to give him a day.
I just think it's interesting, too, that as effective as he was, and then you've lined up the pieces that you have decided to line up behind him, and the plan being to bring him back with the intent of him closing out or helping to close out a win. Well, now the Gators have seen him. Right. So yeah, I mean, that doesn't necessarily change his ability to be effective, but like, if you're only going to use
familiarity to it, for sure.
You've seen the changeup now, especially the left-handers have seen the changeup. And, so from that standpoint, again, the 2 innings to start the game, where did they get you?
And they saw his absolute best stuff.
Yes.
It was interesting. I was watching the Braves game a couple nights ago, and Hall of Famer Tom Glavine was talking about his approach as a pitcher. And he said, you know what, if I'm just facing a guy in the 4th inning of a meaningless game and nobody's on base, I'm going to pitch him backwards, and I'm going to pitch him in a high leverage situation when I have to get him out.
Yeah, it's a fascinating deal. And they will also you'll see teams pitch people in their first at bat, similar to what you're talking about, but different than they're going to pitch out of the bullpen. The starters will pitch them different than the bullpen guys will do, and that's all some of the 401 pitching stuff. But I can say beyond a shadow of a doubt that Tom Glavine, especially as a starter, has more freedom to do that than what you get with a lot of younger pitchers or bullpen pitchers, right? Because every at bat that they have matters. It doesn't matter what the score of the game is. But Tom Glavine, especially once he's midway part of his career, if he gives up a homer to you in a 5-0 game, pitching you the way he would never pitch you when it matters, he doesn't really care, right?
Well, if he gives up a homer to you in a 5-0 game, throwing a pitch he's not going to throw you in a high leverage situation, he now has the advantage.
Yeah, he considers that a win. That's right.
That is somewhat of a win.
That's right. And so that's the freedom that he gets as a star.
Line to left. I think it's fascinating from a fan perspective because I think the average fan, especially watching a major league game, is thinking every pitch, this guy is throwing his best pitch to try and get the batter out.
No, and I think the other thing to that is every fastball you don't throw as hard as you can. I mean, there's a difference in velocity with fastballs sometimes. What you learn when you get into a starting role is you don't want to come out of the gate throwing your hardest fastball of the game the first pitch of the ball game. Hopefully you look up and you're 100 pitches into it and there's still plenty there. It's the other thing that I've been impressed with Singer is he's able to hold velocity deep into ball games. The velo that we've seen in the 6th inning, same velo we were seeing in the 1st.
Yeah, he's a horse. There's no doubt about that. I don't think there's many concerns about his ability to transition from once a week to once every 5 days. He seems to be an athlete that will transition well into that adjustment to professional baseball.
Popped up. A run to hit, 1 left. It's time to stretch in Lex, 8-2 Florida. Florida looks like the #1 team in the country once again, trying to take game 1 of this series. Jam-packed weekend in college baseball. Some attention in the Tar Heel State. NC State Duke will be our 7th top 10 weekend series this season. First time it's happened between teams that weren't in the SEC. And it's a shame that Lucan Baker's lost again for the remainder of the season. He broke his leg in a midweek game against UT Arlington on a slide back to second. And a big one for an important cause, honoring Pete Frates, former Boston College champion, team captain, pardon me, as Florida State goes to Fenway to take on BC. That's Saturday on ESPNU.
After his freshman year and the show he put on in Omaha, Lucan Baker, we thought we were set up to have probably the best career in the history of TCU's program, and kind of a legendary type of career.
Yeah.
And to sustain the 2 injuries he's had over the last 2 seasons is just, first of all,
weird plays.
Never take health for granted, number 1, but number 2, it's a shame for a kid who is everything that college baseball should be, just a first-class kid. And if you're watching, buddy, Man, hang in there. I know that's a tough break.
Yeah, man, that one made me sad.
Yeah.
I mean, when you see that news. Well, TCU on our airwaves next weekend against Texas Tech.
And of course, practically one of the great programs in the country, scratching and clawing just to make a regional, loses their best bat. So from a baseball perspective, that's a really tough deal.
Singer's cruising. He has struck out 9. I thought the third trip through the lineup was supposed to be tough. He's been perfect the third trip through.
Third trip through is when you start flashing that changeup a little bit more too. You show that changeup, and you get a right-hander that goes back to the dugout and say, "Hey man, he just threw me 2 changeups at bat." Now that fastball up in the zone's got a little bit more giddy up to it too.
Yeah, and he's featuring that one with a little more regularity than we're used to.
Here's Ryan Johnson, pops up the first pitch. India in foul territory. What do you got on that big matchup in the ACC between NC State and Duke?
That one's going to be fun now. Berkey said it off camera and in break that Duke kind of feels like the Kentucky of this year, that team that makes a big jump forward. It's true, and I tell you, Chris Pollard's club's got a chance not only to host, they could play themselves into a national seed.
Yeah.
If they continue the back end, and this weekend goes a long way, whoever wins that series really is in the driver's seat for the national seed out of the ACC, not the national seed, but a national seed out of the ACC.
Here's Alex Rodriguez. He is 0 for 2 tonight.
Well, they got NC State and NC coming up.
Yeah.
So they win both those series, and yeah, Duke's right in the mix. And to think that they would be where they are without Griffin Conine playing at an All-American level is very surprising, because he was a big part of the preseason buzz surrounding Duke. The reason they were preseason top 25 team.
NC State does something a little bit different. They throw their ace in game 2.
And that's kind of the question mark with NC State, is their pitching staff. There's not really a dominant arm that you can point to, but boy, can they slug.
They haven't won game 1 of an ACC series yet this season, but my question is, how can you win a super regional when you don't throw your ace game 1?
Well, I mean,
win games 2 and 3.
Yeah, I'd say it's the formula.
Oh, I hadn't thought about that.
The formula that keeps getting them ACC series, I don't think they're going to. And let's be honest, they could outslug somebody on a Friday night, no matter who you're running out there. So
they have a great offense.
Kinnaman's playing at
Kinnaman's going on.
Yeah, he's playing at All-American level, and it's an old team. It's a team that, you know, a couple years ago had their hearts ripped out from them by Coastal Carolina when they, what was it, rain delay in game 7 of that regional. And
they were
Coastal Carolina
an
came
out
back.
away.
Yeah,
I believe that's when Coastal Carolina won a national title.
We got headlights beyond the batter's eye in center field, and with a right-hander at the plate especially, we're going to wait on that vehicle.
Yeah, come on, man.
Pull on out.
It's hard enough to hit Brady Singer. We don't need headlights behind center field.
Too.
Let's go.
Yeah.
I mean, I could see if Florida was hitting, but
I kind of like that play if Florida's hit. If you're for the home crowd.
You would have loved the Metrodome then. 2-2 now to Alex Rodriguez. At a Miramar High School, Pembroke Pines, Florida. Another one of the JUCO guys.
I would think this would be Singer's last inning. Up over the 100 pitch count right now. He's been pretty efficient over the course of it. Nobody up and thrown in that Florida bullpen yet, but he's been really good again. Changeup.
Yeah. Did you see the squint? If you're hitting, especially at night, and you see the pitcher squint, it's almost always an off-speed pitch, and normally something that's a little out of the routine. Did you see the squint?
Never heard this before. Yeah, but I've never heard that said in my life.
You haven't?
I haven't.
Yeah, that's.
He squinted there.
No, he didn't.
Oh.
Maybe he was just going for blue steel. He is K'd 10 through 7 innings. Spring games coming up this weekend on the SEC Network. Orange and white game at 2 o'clock from Neyland Stadium, followed by Super Bulldog weekend at 4. And then Ed Ogeron will take the field for LSU's 6 o'clock in Baton Rouge. You can always watch it live on the ESPN app. Florida spring game last week for me.
Yeah.
Yeah. A few different quarterbacks are going through.
How'd that game play out? I heard there was some extracurriculars? Or?
There was some scoring. There was some duck, duck, goose. There was, yeah, they put some points. You know, when you have an offensive coach running the scrimmage, and it was like 6-3 in the first quarter. We knew that game wasn't going to end 6-3. Dan Mullen was going to pull out some tricks. 28-24 or something like that. What do you got in your Vols this year?
It's going to look drastically different on the defensive side of things, I think. So if there's one thing I feel pretty good about is Jeremy Pruitt's he's going to instill a much different mindset on defense. I don't know what they're going to do at the quarterback spot yet, but excited about just kind of old school football coach taking the reins in Knoxville.
It's what I love about Chris Burke. Like, the guy knows baseball. He grew up on baseball. He plays a little bit of hoops too. But there may not be a bigger Tennessee football fan than Chris Burke.
He's up there. Vol Navy. He's the admiral.
Second strikeout for Schinzer.
How about this now? Berkey and I are in the studio a few weeks ago. Jimmy Dykes is there. He corners Jimmy Dykes. How do you beat a 2-3 zone? How do you beat a 2-3 zone? Like, show me a different. I'm coaching my 8-year-olds back. You got to show me how to beat a 2-3 zone.
And Jimmy's too nice a guy to tell you to buzz off.
Oh, he broke it down. And
we went into it.
Schinzer pumping strikes. First to Brady Smith is in there. By the way, in Como tonight, Vandy has tied it up with Missouri 1-1 in the 5th, and the Commodores threatening with 2 on.
I got Missouri going to postseason.
Yeah, and talking to Kevin O'Sullivan, I mean, he's like, look, if they get the right matchup in a regional, that team can win a regional. They got that much pitching. They're defending at a high level. The offense maybe isn't great, but when you pitch it and defend it, it doesn't have to be. Obviously, Florida proved that last year.
So that could mean, if Missouri gets in, that could mean that the SEC would have a record 10 teams in the NCAA tournament.
Well,
whoa, this one, tomahawk deep to left. That's way into the hood.
Yikes.
Over the flagpoles, and Brady Smith, not known for his juice, has his second of the year.
They are excited about this one now, and he hasn't had a ton of at-bats yet, just a freshman, but they do think that the power tool is absolutely going to be there for Brady Smith, and you see why with this swing right here.
This is launched, and I'm going to say, we'll say 32 on that one is my guess on a launch angle at a fastball up around the letters, get the barrel behind the baseball and get through it, and that one kind of elevates itself, and that's a no doubt or beautiful feeling when the left fielder doesn't even track it.
Into left field again. Pompey in foul territory. Out of play.
We showed you some of the high and low end of the spectrum on launch angle from the major leagues, or excuse me, on exit velocity from the major leagues last year. The highest launch angle was 48 degrees. Carlos Correa hit that home run in the World Series. That one right there was a similar kind of pitch. Now, my guess is that one was in the low 30s. That one from Correa, if you'd have hit that in high school practice, they'd have kicked you out of the cage. Then it got out of the yard. Again, a friendly left field there in Houston.
We'll talk more about that TrackMan technology tomorrow night.
We will. We will. We're going to kind of nerd out. We've had a little bit earlier with Luke Heyer, but we're going to get into the numbers a little bit. Our friends from TrackMan letting us use their numbers this weekend. We appreciate that.
Might just do that with Tristan Pompey next inning. Some more big league numbers. There's that Carlos Correa.
Yeah, so look,
run.
a fastball up. And what I'm trying to figure out is how you hit a ball at 48 degrees and still get basically 106 exit velocity. That's an incredible job. And Aaron Judge, look how high that follow through is, yet it only went off at 15 degrees. Basically a topspin liner that got out 115 miles an hour at 15 degrees, the lowest home run hit last year.
By the way, that home run by Correa was pretty important. That was a 13-12 Astros win in Game 5 of the World Series in 10 innings.
I saw a GIF where somebody put an imaginary batting cage around him and showed where that ball would have hit if he was in a cage, and it's essentially right above home plate.
Brady Smith with a solo home run in the 8th. We head to the home half. Dawson, Pompey, and Squires due up for the Cats. All right, Dari, thank you. Here in Lexington, it's a 9-2 lead for the #1 team in the country. And Brady Singer is done for the night. Singer struck out 10 over 7 innings. He gives way to Tommy Mace, 6'6" freshman from Tampa. 14th appearance, he has struck out 21 against just 6 walks.
And this is one that they're thinking may be the next one. Between Mace and Leftwich, the 2 freshmen, the numbers may not be that impressive all that to this point in the season, but the reality is the stuff is. And for Mace, you can see a fastball up into the mid-90s. The breaking ball's real, and they think he's going to grow into one of those weekend starters.
It seems like Florida always has another one.
Yeah.
Whether it's the next one or not, they always have another one.
Yeah.
But what I like, and this happens because your rotation's so good at that point, but they haven't been forced to rush him. When you look at what the paths have been for all of the recent guys, whoever they've been, they really haven't been asked to pitch on the weekend all that much in the starting role their freshman year.
Shore and Faedo did. Shore through first, which was
I guess
never
it's
happened.
true.
Faedo through third.
Singer didn't.
Singer didn't.
Coar
didn't.
didn't. Puck didn't.
Dyson didn't.
Dyson didn't.
Till the end last year. But you know that last year I was just about to say that last year was the first year in a long time where you watch Florida early or even mid and go, I don't know who's next. And then by the end of the year, it was obvious with Dyson.
Yep.
I mean, Singer and Coar were already there, but you know what I'm saying? You didn't know after those two. You didn't see a freshman, I guess I should say, that really jumped off the page. And then Dyson just emerged, man. I mean, the way he finished last year was impressive.
Yeah, I guess winning the Super Regional game and then winning Game 2 of the finals to do that to you. 2 starts of the year ended up all right.
You know, you talk about making an adjustment to the game plan. Dyson in the Super Regional game was only supposed to throw 2 innings.
Right.
He ends up going, what, 8? 7 or 8?
Yeah. And then you end up
knowing
you got to do.
That was his coming out party. Here's Chris Burke's coming out party. Let's talk numbers with Tristan Pompey.
Yeah, so Tristan Pompey, you know, we talked about India being one of the most talented position players. This is probably 1B in the league. You see him get the bat on plane, get the bat behind the baseball, 114 mile an hour exit velocity. The launch angle only 19 degrees, but when you got that elite exit velo, you can get it out at 19 degrees. TrackMan giving us that data, and we appreciate it greatly, showing you just how talented this hitter is. And again, Jonathan India right now probably going to be the first position player taken from this league. But to start the year, KP, most people would have probably guessed that Tristan Pompey, and I don't think he's hurt his draft stock. I just think India's jumped him. If there's anything he can improve upon based on looking at his TrackMan numbers, I think it would do him well to get more launch. His exit velo, his average exit velo is over 100 miles an hour, which would put him at the top of a major league statistical breakdown, but just hadn't hit the ball in the air enough this year.
Is that something that you would work on during the course of the season, or something that needs to be tinkered with in the offseason?
Well, I think that you can make some minor adjustments throughout the course of the season. Now, you look at the spray chart here. This is just for home stats, so he's hit 3 home runs, all to the pool side. You look, his max exit velo at 114, the average MLB at 104.7. His average is 107. So if you are a scout evaluating this prospect, you say, well, he already compresses the ball at above a major league level. And Tommy, as you said, the bats are different, but the BB core isn't that much different than the wood bat. So those numbers play.
1-2-3 frame worked by Tommy Mace out of the Florida bullpen. It'll be the heart of the Gators order due up. Jonathan India trying to extend his hit streak when he comes to the plate. But it seems like the only thing left to be decided tonight is if Jonathan India can continue this amazing hit streak that he's on. India thus far tonight is 0 for 3 with a couple of strikeouts and 1 walk. He will face, well, this will be the fifth different pitcher he's faced, I believe. This is Trip Lockhart now on the mound. 24-game hit streak is the 3rd longest in Florida history. You said you've been through it before, Chris Burke. You're over. You know it's going to be your last at bat.
Yeah, this is where it's definitely in your head a little bit, especially on a night, and this is probably the kind of night that could, that you could see breaking a guy's hitting streak where he has to face a different arm every single time. So you're thinking about it. He's thinking about it right here. He obviously knows the hit streak he has on the line. Be interesting to see, does he go up there ready to ambush a first pitch heater? Does he want to get comfortable and see a new release point?
So when your streak broke, however long it was, do you remember this at bat? Do you remember the last at bat?
Yes, yes, I do.
So what were you thinking when you went up there?
There was a ton of pressure. Like the try to force the issue kind of. Like most at bats, a walk is a great at bat, right? But not in this scenario.
He swung at the first pitch in the first inning and popped it up before that walk in the third, and then strikeouts in the fifth and the sixth.
Swinging right here.
What made you think that?
Well, you're 1-0 and took a breaking ball off the plate. You've seen a pitch. It was a breaking ball for a ball. You're thinking the pitcher wants to get back into the count on a 1-0 count. So once you've seen one, you're definitely swinging on a 1-0 count.
And 2-0. Come on now.
He don't want to be walked.
He's definitely swinging here. You got to let him swing here. See if they throw him a heater. We saw Langworthy swing earlier on a 3-0 count, so Sully will give it to him.
He takes a strike.
But that's just a good pitch. I think he was ready to swing it. That's just one that didn't suit him.
24-game hit streak for Jonathan India. And it will likely end on a walk. 0 for 3 with 2 walks.
Yeah, that's a rough way for it, Dan. And the truth is, he could have pulled the trigger on the 3-0 pitch. The 3-1 pitch, that's just really hard for a kid who's as disciplined as him to pull the trigger on that low one.
I respect the fact he didn't swing at the 3-0 pitch.
Yeah.
I mean, given the situation he's in right now, to where in back of his mind, he probably knows that maybe the only one he gets the entire at bat. He still took it like he would in the first inning.
So Tim Olson's school record 29-game hit streak.
Tim Olson has
still
that
alive.
record.
Yeah.
Played a lot of games against Tim Olson.
Did that in 2000.
He was a heck of a player, very athletic player.
Line drive single for Will Dalton. That's his second hit of the night. We'll be right back at it tomorrow. 7:30 first pitch between Florida and Kentucky. We'll see the reigning SEC pitcher of the year, Sean Jelly, on the mound for the Kentucky Wildcats.
Sean Jelly, Jackson Kowar could have 2 more first-rounders going head-to-head tomorrow. There's a reason why all those dudes came that are sitting behind home plate this weekend.
KP, the general manager that you are, I give you the choice of Singer, Kowar, or Jelly. Who you got first, second, and third?
I would take Kowar first. I would take Singer second and Jelly third. There's a lot of Jelly buzz right now because he has things that you can't teach.
Yeah.
I mean, you start with the height, and it doesn't exist. And so now you're creating angles that guys aren't used to seeing if he can get up to the major league level. I think Kowar's upside is higher than all of them. And if you had to grade them all out right now, I'd put Kowar third, honestly, because he hasn't shown a consistent ability to control the fastball. I think the other 2 guys have. But I think it's an easy mid-90s. It's as good a changeup as you're going to see in the entire country. That's only going to get better. His breaking pitch is not a plus pitch now, but he'll show you signs of it. He'll get through it. And it's kind of like Singer's changeup. When he gets into pro ball, he's going to have to throw his changeup more. When Kowar gets into pro ball, he's going to have to throw his breaking ball more. They're going to force him to do it. But I like his upside more than the other 2, honestly. I think all 3 of them pitch in the big leagues.
To third. Chance for a double play. Kick of the bag and a throw across. It's bobbled. And breaking for third is Dalton. By the way, that play was right in front of Florida's first base coach, Lars Davis. Newly minted citizen Lars Davis.
Today.
And sworn in.
What happened over there on first base?
We got new first baseman.
Braden Combs in there at first.
Looked like he just whiffed it.
Yeah, I think he just dropped it.
What about Lars? I mean,
oh, sorry, Lars.
Yeah,
Congratulations.
Dual citizenship going on now.
We blew right past you. You were waiting the whole day for that heart, and we paid no attention to it. I apologize. It was rude.
Apologize to me. Apologize to Lars.
Lars is bigger than you. I'm gonna no, probably a lot stronger and faster and significantly better looking. I'm not gonna do anything.
He's a citizen in more than just one country than I am too. E5 on the throw.
E5, huh?
No.
I just read what they put in front of me. I'm Ron Burgundy.
I'm aware of that. It's incorrect.
Missouri has a 2-1 lead on Vandy, getting late in Boone County tonight.
Local knowledge dropped on you out of nowhere. Como and a Boone County dropped in one broadcast.
They got one of those in the Commonwealth too, right? We're not far from Boone County.
Oh yeah.
I think they got a Boone County in every state.
Vanderbilt's resume is pretty interesting when you look at it right now. That Duke win, the first series of the season, is
looking better every week.
Yeah, looking better every week. But
Ole Miss series wins big.
Ole Miss series win, a Georgia series win, an LSU series win.
So what are you getting at?
Well, it's one of the more unique resumes because they've lost 4 or 5 midweek games, and I don't think it's one of the scarier Vanderbilt teams we've seen. But you start looking at those quality series wins that they have, and, if they can get to probably 17 conference wins, they've also beat TCU and UCLA out west. So it's a pretty good resume right now. The high-end part of their resume looks really, really good. If they get to 17 conference wins, maybe even 16, they're going to be a host.
They may be competing with Kentucky for a host spot, and the interesting point about that is that Kentucky has a losing record in conference play, and since 64-team expansion, no SEC team has hosted a regional with a losing conference record.
But I would tell you this, I think Kentucky has the most impressive non-conference series win of anybody in this league. I mean, they took 2 out of 3 from Texas Tech. It's the only series Texas Tech's lost the entire year.
E1. I'll see Texas Tech next week. We'll have them on the air when they travel to Arkansas for a midweek game. How about that for a matchup? Here's what D1 Baseball says.
I have no arguments with any. I think East Carolina's resume is
absolutely
certainly worthy of that. NC State is the one team that I think is maybe the most vulnerable just because of what they have left with their schedule.
Well, and RPI. I mean, that's the one. NC State has the highest RPI of anybody on that page. Oregon State, I think, will finish well. They should get Madrigal back, I believe, this weekend. I think Nick Madrigal returns. Stanford has been on fire really the entire season. I mean, if Kentucky wins 2 out of 3 this weekend and finishes the way that I think they're going to finish in this league, I think Kentucky gets in the national seed argument. Duke takes 2 out of 3 this weekend against NC State. You start talking about Duke.
Well, I just said that if Vandy gets to 16, 17 conference wins, they're probably going to be a regional host. If Kentucky gets to 16, 17 conference wins, they're probably going to be a national seed. Now at 7 and 8, it makes it tough, but they got obviously this Florida series right in front of them, but they got Missouri at Tennessee, home for Mississippi State, and at Vanderbilt. So, in Tennessee and Mississippi State, they got 2 of the bottom tier teams in this league still in front of them. Certainly games that are going to be competitive because anybody in this league can beat you, but it's a favorable finish to the schedule for the Cats.
Does Indiana have a chance to be a national seed?
Yep. Absolutely. And the Big Ten's going to get – Big Ten could get 4 teams into the postseason. In fact, I think they will get 4 teams into the postseason.
For the first time ever, the committee will seed 1 through 16. Now, there can be some line movement seed by seed. They get a little bit creative, but I'm just curious. There have been times in the past where the committee wanted to have a host in the Northeast. So UConn had a chance to host. That was years ago. Do you think there's a chance that they would want Indiana, for example, to be a national seed, to have a chance to host a super regional, and would bump them up a line or 2?
Well, I mean, there was a few years ago Indiana did host and was a national seed. The other team that you just mentioned, too, UConn's got a chance to host. What's interesting is UConn at least what's being reported, would bid to host, I believe, at Fenway. Whoa. You can check. I don't know if you get the D1 stuff up, but the last that I saw from D1 when it listed UConn as a potential host, the ballpark that was listed was Fenway Park.
Can we go?
We can ask.
When you go there this weekend, put in a good word.
I will. I'm sure that'll carry a long ways. Duke gets into a little bit of an issue, and I don't think it ultimately will be, but the Durham Bulls are at home.
Yeah.
So Duke cannot host at Durham Athletic Park. They would have to host in their on-campus facility, which they have to roll some seats in and things to do that. But they have the resume right now to do it.
Yeah, Indiana actually was a national seed and regional host the year Vanderbilt won the national championship. Stanford.
Dansby got drafted on the field.
Yeah, it was.
They went to
Well,
Illinois.
that was at Illinois. No, but
it wasn't when Dansby got drafted on the field.
right. No, the year before that, Stanford went to Indiana and beat
him in the
Indiana,
region.
and then Stanford went down to Vanderbilt because Vanderbilt was a regional host but not a national seed.
Yep.
And then Vanderbilt beat Stanford in the Super and then went and won the World Series. And then the next year was when Dansby got drafted at Illinois, and they were a national seed. So there certainly is recent precedent for a Big Ten team
Absolutely.
with not a top 10 RPI being a national seed.
Bases loaded for the Gators here with Brady Smith at the plate. All he did was homer last time he was up. You know, if Kendall Rogers was watching tonight, he would have already texted us.
Sure he would have.
Is he on vacation or something?
Little man may have a game.
North Carolina could squeak in there and be a national seed. Again, they still have some. They've got a really good RPI, and they've got some good RPI series in front of them. UCLA could, if they finish strong against Stanford and Oregon State.
3 to watch that are interesting, that have been stalwarts in the postseason for years, that have some work to do. One is TCU, which we'll see on our airwaves a lot over the next few weeks. One is Miami, and the other is Virginia. Virginia has a lot of work to do right now. Fullerton, I just have a feeling Fullerton's going to be there in the end. But you're right. As of right now, Fullerton fits right into that mix, too.
Kendall Rogers tells us that Duke has bid to host on campus, and they will bring in extra seats. He hasn't answered our question about UConn possibly hosting at Fenway yet. That's what I call on-demand resourcing right there and reporting. RBI single for Smith.
Okay, now there's a chance.
Yeah, he could get back.
India could get another chance. Next two would have to reach, obviously. I mean, it looked almost assuredly that his last at bat would be when he walked to lead this inning off, but Lippett reaches and Maldonado reaches. India still have a chance to extend that hit streak.
So now as a teammate, I mean, not that Lippett and Maldonado don't want to get on anyway. Is the dugout aware of what's going on
absolutely.
here?
Absolutely. I think those guys would love to give him another shot, especially the way he's put this team on his back for stretches during this year. I think everybody would like to see him get another crack at it, especially when the fact that he didn't even get a chance to swing at his last at bat.
Good news, too. Jeremy Mills just texted me Nick Madrigal is playing tonight for Oregon State. So it's great to see the all-everything second baseman back in the lineup for Oregon State.
That's the only other game with a top 25 team in it. Missouri and Vandy, another one, and it's 2-1 Tigers in the 6th inning at home, but Vandy's got 2 on. By the way, it just so happens that Fenway Park would be open for a regional. The Red Sox are on the road against the defending world champs in Houston that weekend.
I wasn't making it up.
No, I just wanted people to know they would. Red Sox are home the next weekend, though, so there wouldn't be no super there. Fenway will host a pair of college games this weekend. Army-Navy on Friday, BC Florida State on Saturday. Talk a little bit more about that BC Florida State game. Well, India does not get a chance, and it's the last chance for Kentucky, down by 9 in the ninth. Coming up after the game, Dari's back there with Ben and the SEC Now team. Full breakdowns of both games tonight, this one and then Missouri-Vandy. Nobody covers the SEC like we do, of course. You can always watch it on the ESPN app as well. And they will chat with Brady Singer about his performance tonight. And what a performance he was. He struck out 10. He's in line for his 8th victory of the season. He gives him 73 strikeouts against 14 walks this season.
No, I guess it's a little bit sad that we see this as normal for Singer, but it just feels like it. I mean, it was
sad is a weird word to use.
Well, it just like we've become so accustomed to it, I guess.
Almost immune.
Yeah, I mean, he goes out and punches out 10. You're like, yeah, he was pretty good. Yeah, he was. And oh, by the way, the offense he's facing is really good, and they got 3 hits tonight.
Yeah, they're second in the country in home runs. They're 7th in the country in batting average. By the way, 9th inning now. I want to give you a chance to talk about the game that you'll be a part of Saturday with Florida State and Boston College from Fenway.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. I mean, obviously, it's for all the right reasons. It's the ALS awareness game, and Boog Shambi doing play-by-play, and it's a cause that's really close to Boog's heart. Boog's Foundation raises a bunch of money for ALS research. He hosts a softball tournament every year in New York and brings in a bunch of guys for it. So I know it's an important day for Boog. Important day for Marlon McGrath, who has a lot of family ties to the disease as well. Eddie Perez will join me, Florida State guy, and oh, by the way, Mike Martin's pretty close to breaking the all-time wins record. So it should be a really fun afternoon at Fenway this Saturday.
Pete Hughes is now on the Georgia coaching staff. He was Pete Freitas' coach while at Boston College, and I talked to him a couple days ago, and I said, explain to me what kind of player he was. He said, first of all, he was your typical Northeastern kid. He was playing baseball, hockey, basketball. He goes, and I thought as his coach that when he just focused on baseball, he became a great player. And I could hit him anywhere in the lineup. But he was best at the top of the lineup because he was such an energy guy that the rest of the team fed off of.
Of course, Coach Hughes' boy wears Pete Freitas' number in honor of Pete, the current shortstop for LSU, who's been filling in for the injured Josh Smith. But what a tribute that is. Kind of a neat story. But
also, I didn't tell you this, Berkey. We're doing the game here tomorrow night at 7:30. It's going to be about 45 degrees at first pitch.
No, you did tell me that. I knew that.
But what I didn't tell you is you're doing the Ice Bucket Challenge before the game.
Okay, fair enough.
Right? And you can't change. Roll with it.
Yeah, that's pretty cool just from a baseball perspective. You get a chance as a college player to play at Fenway. The ACC tried to host a tournament there a few years ago, but there was a scheduling snafu. So you got Army-Navy there tonight, and they're used to playing a big league stadium. They play at Camden Yards on a regular basis, and now at Fenway. And the thought that if UConn gets a chance to host it, you'd have 4 college teams, a full weekend of action at Fenway Park. Yeah, that would be awesome.
It would be. And honestly, it'd be great for the college game. I mean, I think it would bring a lot of eyes, maybe some eyes in Boston that aren't used to seeing a lot of college baseball in that environment.
So if you're going to sell the game of college baseball to an average Red Sox fan who knows nothing of the game except that Andrew Benintendi came out of Arkansas, what teams would you send there?
Well, UConn's a good start because there's a regional draw. So let's just assume UConn's a 1. Who's going to be a 2 that would have some gas? Texas? Maybe.
I'll give you the opportunity to forget seeds. Just tell me the 4 teams you would send.
Well, Northeastern. You guys said Northeastern.
Yeah, Northeastern's got a great RPI. Yeah. That's an easy trip.
Yeah.
What do you mean? You'd want power, and power.
Yeah. Could you imagine Kentucky or Florida playing at Fenway Park?
Yeah.
And I think you put Arkansas. Forget about the seedings. It's just, dreamland here. Can you imagine Arkansas's offense playing there?
Oh,
you bring them in with Andrew Benintendi tie in. Talk about a deep lineup. Diving attempt by Reese gets by him into right. Higher will end up at third.
So if there's another offense in this league that's similar to Kentucky and Florida, it's got to be Arkansas, the way that they've been going. Berkey, I'm going to put you on the spot. What was the stat that you threw out earlier today? There's 2 freshmen in the country.
Yep. 2 freshmen in the country that are over 330 and 7 home runs, and they both play for Arkansas. Kerstad and Martin, they're both over 330, and I think Martin's got 8 and Kerstad's got 7, or maybe they both have 8, something like that. But it's along with Will Dalton, those are that's your short list of probably most impactful newcomers into the conference this year.
Casey Martin and Heston Kerstad. Here's Cole Cottom at the plate. What's so impressive about that as a freshman?
Well, and let me just say that I think, again, back to our earlier conversation about offense breeding offense, they are in a lineup that allows them to constantly be up with runners on base and the pitcher working out of the stretch and those types of things. But when you come into this league, as we've detailed throughout the course of this game, with all the first-rounders that are in this league, not only guys that are going to get drafted in the first round this year, but future first-rounders, to be able to make that jump from high school to playing against that kind of competition and compete at the level that those 2 young men have, that just speaks volumes about their maturity. And let's just be honest, their strength level. Because Baum Stadium, I mean, that's not a small yard. There's days where it can jump out of there. But so the fact that, especially Martin, what's he, 175, 180 pounds?
Yeah, that ball comes off that bat a little bit different. And he's a guy that profiles the middle of the infield, too.
And Kerstad's a monster. He's got a chance to be a real middle-of-the-order guy. So those 2, they got a lot to be excited about in those 2 in Fayetteville.
Eklinski dispatch. This will bring Ryan Johnson to the plate.
I think normally this time of year you would expect to see the freshmen start to go this way, but both of those young men have made, they had a bit of a lull like everybody has a couple weeks ago, but both of them on their way back up.
I love you, right?
I think so.
I like where we're going with this.
Nobody could see you when you were pointing down when you said this way. Once again, you were off camera.
Yeah, that's right. I'm aware of that, Tom. Thank you.
Line to short. And Florida is number 1, but they continue to go this way. That would be up. Number 1 with a bullet. An impressive victory for the Gators behind Brady Singer, who will be Dari Noka's guest on SEC Now in a moment. Kevin O'Sullivan's team just continues to roll.
They're pretty complete, man. I mean, they're pretty complete. It's hard to find